Oh yeah, we're gonna rock and roll. Special heat wave. It's a special heat wave when we on these steel toes for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. We're gonna go around my neighborhood because I left late because I had to do that geopolitics, and do some YouTube channel work. So loading the video from yesterday was a long time, but took a long time. But that's why we're gonna work it in the sun. And here we go. For the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, those in the daycares who change some of those diapers, you know. Dancing is my favorite sport, so we're gonna bust a dance move as we go. Always got that choreography 24/7. And geopolitics, of course, special. Donald Trump going to visit Saudi Arabia, Canada, because I'm a Quebecer, Canadian, North American. The inauguration of the new cabinet, which we're gonna have to do some more in-depth analysis once I go back. It's a heat wave, special heat wave. I declare it a heat wave. May 13th, full moon, second day. Tomorrow closing on that third day, so that's how we got. It's a special heat wave. So I'm gonna put a little bit of that garbage and we're gonna rock and roll with that. And yeah, beautiful flowers here. And through my neighborhood roundabout, or we're gonna go. Turn your heads left and right before you cross the street. Always prudently caution. Although it's a one-way here, you know, they can only in theory go that way. But sometimes they mistake and they don't know that it's a one-way street. So you gotta always be on the prudent side, caution side. See, as it is here, it says one way, but I notice sometimes they make the mistake, you know. Sometimes there's a mistake being made and they turn, and then you gotta you gotta do those gymnastics. So we try to avoid the gymnastics for today. So always be cautious, prudence in the public, you know, because I am out. So I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations, which are not on the Concordium. If I usually, of course, stay in my underground room off some temple, I would not have the same duties and obligations. Well, I do now in the neighborhood. Gonna stretch left to right, left and right, stretch in the sun. It's quite a hot day. I declared a heat wave. Encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and I'm just gonna drop some more garbage here. Working out, training, exercising has been and is my medicine and therapy of choice, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And somebody making a little bit of that good fitness, as I am, you know, involved in my fitness journey since 2017. When I crossed Canada coast to coast, that event changed my whole life. I got out of being depressed, being suicidal by then, and now I gotta get it on this heat wave. 13th of March 2025, survived COVID and survived being attacked by surprise a few times, one big one, and survive with trauma, scars, and always get that loving. And although financially stressed, because you know with Asperger's, being an Asp, it's more difficult to maintain long-term employments. And unfortunately my community, which is a tiny community, you know, thank you, there's a little dog there. I gotta be watching for the little dogs. I do love dogs, but I cannot pet them too much if they have long thick fur. Except for poodles. Poodles I can pet 24/7, you know, so bring on the poodles. Gonna get those kisses for the poodles and hugs, and poodles I rock and roll with, but the other ones no, you know, so that's what we're gonna get doing on the go, you know. So it's something which we gotta be on that meditative side, you know. Somebody gotta get on that rock and roll, and that's what we're gonna get drilling with that, and gonna get drilling on the shirt off, and gonna get drilling on that go, and that's how we're gonna rock and roll with that, and gonna get on the go side of things, and so we're gonna get going, you know. So gonna get doing on the go, and we're gonna get drilled on the side of things. And yeah, I see people with shirt off. It's hot, and that's how we're gonna go doing with that, and so we're gonna go, you know. You see a little bit of that dogs there, dog park, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. And yeah, it's a heat day and hot day, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. And always meditating, grateful, you know, gratitude. And I'm pretty jovial as a person, you know, joyful, but just financially stressed, you know. Just the stress, financial stress, economic stress, commercial stress can be quite burdensome, you know, and there's a lot of misunderstandings, you know, me being different, you know, we have this difference, Aspies, and Aspies were not a lot in the world. There's not a lot of Aspies, you know. It's a very uncommon condition. It's a neurological mental condition. Our brain is different, and so we just look at the world differently, you know. We have misunderstandings sometimes in the way we communicate and the way we interact, especially in social settings among individuals. It can be a very peculiar and unique world because we look at the world differently. There's a mutation in the brain, you know. So think about it as a supercomputer. So a supercomputer who has main things of which all the psychic energies or the energies are dedicated to those specific. The vast majority of my mental psychic abilities or concentrations are of course focused. See, you can take some of that food there. I'm not gonna take because I'm gonna leave it for somebody else, but I was just checking here. You can take some food, and that is gonna be a little bit of corn for somebody else. So somebody else can take the corn, and I gotta salute the firefighters and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and think about it, you know, just the food producers to make that corn, you know. The food producers of North America, you know, to make that corn and transport it and all the... Even now, as I look at that food, you know, see, my brain, how it works, I put it into the context of geopolitics. So I can... It's very rare that I dissociate a daily basis from the kingdom of geopolitics. Because I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and much of my predictions have of course come to a fruition. They happened. It's happening as I predicted it back in 2019. I have to reiterate and restate and of course repeat, because part of my work over the past 7 years concentrates around of course artistic work and geopolitical work, and I have concluded back in 2019 in October, November that humanity is again set towards an international conflagration, or so made, created and produced my workout training program system, also which I created to go consequently with that scenario, which is unfolding in a very similar manner, in a very similar pattern to what I had concluded back in 2019. I'm just gonna turn my head here right and left until I get the nod from the head and I make sure they stop fully, you know. Yeah. So I'm pretty joyous, happy as a person, you know. I'm content. I think gratitude helps a lot into joy, you know. Gratitude helps a lot. Being grateful on a daily basis, especially since I died of COVID in 2020, you know. Between February 2020 and February and March 2020, I was really sick. I really thought I was gonna die right there where I left here, my underground room off St. Temple. I thought I was gonna die, and since then, you know, I take it carpe diem every day. I live to the fullest. I embrace the parts of myself, and I've been diagnosed with Asperger's for many, many years. Only in the past 3.5 years when I've accepted it, you know, because for like 7+ years I kind of didn't want to accept it because it's a stigma, it's a label which of course you live with, and it's a label which of course you get when you have Asperger's. You know, there's no medication, there's no change. You cannot medicate Asperger's, an N.A.C.W.P cannot be medicated because there's no medication. It's just fully understanding this characteristic, this neurodivergence. So basically our brains are different, and for me, we have special interests. So those special interests, also known as obsessive interests, preoccupy glasses left and right here. Those special interests preoccupy our whole dynamic, our whole routine. So 24/7 for me, it's non-stop. It's geopolitics, you know, so that's what it is. It's geopolitics, and that's what it is. It's geopolitics, sports and fitness. So it's always consequently geopolitical analysis and theorizing, and sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, but of course geopolitics and the rock and roll. So that's my holy trinity. So it's basically 24/7 my mind. Think of it as a computer or a supercomputer who's set, and there's the hawk, H-A-W-K. Hawk. That's a hawk. See, black and white, and got the red-headed and black and white. See the way it flies there? That's a H-A-W-K, my totem bird. So now it's past 3:33, so I'm happy. Double plus. Pledge your legions to our family, friends with benefits only. Thanks for understanding. And I'm different. My neurodivergence makes me predisposed to these special interests, which can seem obsessive to the outsiders, who are the vast majority of the population. 99.56% of the human population are neurotypicals. And so think of Asperger's as a computer. Whether a computer, supercomputer, smartphone, or a cybernetics. I'm not going to go into cybernetics, although in a parallel life, cybernetics, supercomputers, satellites, everything to do with science, physics, and telecommunication is my special interest. And those special interests in that parallel life take the whole vast majority of my time, as in this life for many, many years, more than 7 plus. It has been geopolitics, sports, fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, being Priestess Hannah, aka Rainbow Dragon, aka General Cuckold, and by their nicknames, Little Scar, Little Clit Dick, aka blah blah blah. So whatever the case may be, you know, it is that geopolitics is my special interest, but also known as obsessive interest. But those special interests, of course, preoccupy our whole interest. So all the dynamics, whatever the case may be, is the geopolitics which we got, you know, which we got in common, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. So it's something which we gotta realize that we have on the go with that, and we are here, and I'm trying to explain the best of my abilities what Asperger's is with a non-intellectual, overly academic, that is kind of like a cyborg or a cybernetic organism, if you will, like a supercomputer, which of course the mind is basically in the situational aspect that mind functions, or the vast psychic forces, energies of the mind of an ASP are focused and directed towards those special interests. As you can see from hundreds and hundreds of videos, my special interests are, of course, whatever the case may be, and of course that case in point is that me, it's my special interest, because I'm an individual aspect. They vary from individual to individual, and so those special interests for myself are geopolitics. In the geopolitical arena, those interests are that I have as geopolitics one of my special interests, parallel with rock and roll and sports and fitness. So being that is so, and that is the case in point for whatever the case may be, for different aspects, it could be physics, it could be science, it could be mathematics. Basically it varies from individual to individual. So it varies from individual to individual aspect. Me as an individual aspect is geopolitics. You see now how my brain works? You see that train went and goes east. I'm coming from the west. And of course, whatever the case may be, I put it in the geopolitical context of which we are living today. In the geopolitical context of which we are living today, that we're open for sabotage and potential espionage and potential sabotage and espionage. So that is what it is in the context of today that we have on the go, and my mind goes and interjects that specific event here, 13th of May, post 3:33 p.m., that I analyze from the context of being an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, all the interactions which I have now with my fellow citizens, and all in the great North American civilizational complex in Montreal. The truckers, the trains, that train going east, you know, it's open for espionage and sabotage as all our supply chains, because we made potential enemies, which are strong and powerful enemies now, of course, because we got involved militarily, not only in a humanitarian manner, but in a military manner. We provided armament and arms to certain nation states, and thus we made potential enemies of nuclear armed, powerful enemies, which have solidified their alliance. And from a Canadian perspective, our main geopolitical raison d'etre is to have the best, most cordial relations with the United States. So that is number one for us. Our number one interest, geopolitical interest. This is a constant, like the mathematical pi number, which is 3.1416. That is always a constant. So that doesn't change. Here I gotta turn my head because sometimes the cars come from there, and that's what I gotta get doing with that, and turn my head left and right, and that is what it is. And here I'm gonna turn here, and we're gonna go around the bar. I decided that I'm gonna go to the falaise, you know. And I'm gonna go to the falaise. So that is what it is with that. And so I would love to paint this. It's kind of gray. Just paint, you know, paint some, I don't know, some blue, some purple. I pass your option. I think the citizens would appreciate some paint. We need because I like bright colors. We need the revival of our North American infrastructure. And we need to rebuild the ghettos. of North America, Canadian, United States joint for the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, which is my dream basically for public-private partnership for the North American Collective, Pledge Your Allegiance, Legions, and back to geopolitics and Asperger's. Myself, I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist and have been for years. And my work is for the North, primarily my ideas, philosophies are for what I call the North American civilizational complex, or the complex of North American civilization, of which we are part of here today. As a Quebecer Canadian, and whence we made the great linguistic compromise and long ago with the French language here, which I gotta do it as an individual. So back to Asperger's, think about it like a cyborg, or a cybernetic, like a cybernetic organism, if you will. Cyborg, kind of like cyborg maybe, and the brain of that cyborg is directed towards three main directives, and which it can have others, or it can be to the detriment of others, but those three main directives, for me, geopolitics, 24/7 to study the analysis of geopolitics, then sports and fitness, dancing is my favorite sport, then rock and roll. So those three, I'm involved in the activities, doing, researching, learning, or doing, because it takes mental evaluation and intellect to do analysis in geopolitics and a bit of, discernment in the world of geopolitics. While also I have my own vulnerabilities, because as an individual I can be great at geopolitics. See, now I'm pressing with because I don't know how many people pressed the button, and it's potential for microbes and germs, and I gotta be attentive to that. So basically, as a cyborg, think about it in such a way, because Aspies were not allowed, and there's about 0.44%, less than 1%, less than half of a percentile, who have Asperger's. And so being that that is the case, the rest, neurotypicals, you're 99.56%. So basically those three main areas which we can do are of course involved in geopolitics, sports and fitness, rock and roll, and that's basically what it is for me. For another aspect, it could be science, physics, mathematics, whatever the case may be. So Aspies, the problem is that in certain things we can be deficient, even vulnerable, because we're different, and some people might try to exploit that and try to. That's what I've been thinking in the past 2 years with certain events vis-a-vis me, that how can be, of course, certain underworld criminal groups might ally themselves with non-North American centric, basically outside of Canada, United States, groups and individual and interest, and to the detriment of our collective and to the detriment of our well-being here in the prosperity in the North American collective, and to have employ those nefarious, of course, underworld criminal organizations for the detriment of our well-being here in the North American collective. So that can be the case, and that can be something which, of course, I have to meditate. How, of course, for example, blackmailing our leaders, my uncle Legault, blackmailing my uncle Carney now, or I gotta say, the king is absent. The king is absent, is an absentee landlord. So our best geopolitical premise is to have the best cordial relations with the United States, to have the best, most cordial relations with the United States. From a geopolitical perspective, we have our main interest, regardless of other consideration, to have the best cordial relations with the United States. That is just how it is, That is just how it is, and there's no other way around it. So for us, primarily, our main interest is to have the best, most friendly, cordial relations with the United States. There's no yes, there's no maybe. There's only yes, not a maybe, not a no. From a geopolitical perspective, our main interest as Quebecers Canadians is to have the best, most cordial relations with the United States. That is the primary position, the primary fact. There's no way out of that. That is just how it is. From a geopolitical perspective, not other considerations. I'm merely speaking from a geopolitical perspective, devoid of sentimental evaluation or feelings or matter, although I have feelings myself. Aspies, we feel quite strongly sometimes, and quite emotional outbursts we can have myself, and empathy and compassion. We show it by action, though, by differently rather than verbal consolation. So that might be a little bit of a misunderstanding with the 99.56% of the world, which you neurotypicals, of which probably, if ever to have an audience, will be the majority of the population, compared to the 0.44%, less than 1% and less than half of a percentile of which myself am a member of the fellow Asperger's community. So those are things which can be powerfully, also there's negative aspects, because unfortunately Aspies, myself, I've also suffered from depression and being suicidal, you know. I've done that, finished with that in 2017 when I crossed Canada coast to coast, you know. And I crossed Canada coast to coast. That's when I finished with that depression and being suicidal, and that's what it goes with that. So being that I finished with that, being depressed and suicidal, that's what it is with that. And I gotta check because there's some talent there. So see, this I'm for financing and encouraging with allocation, and of course in a legal manner, to have mutual understandings in our big cities of the North American Collective for citizens who can do this. This is really great. See, they have a really talent. My talent is rock and roll, but I love the yellow face with the white and the orange and the black. Gotta give it that the quack, that applause. That's really well done. Good job on that, I gotta say, you know. So as I'm going here from the urban jungle to the falaise, which needs a lot of cleaning to finalize that on Asperger's. The problem that a lot of Aspies have is a very high number, too high unemployment, because I had a lot of jobs myself. It's just keeping maintaining them, because there's a lot of confusion around the Asperger's, you know, because an Aspie is different. We see the world differently, and so we can stumble and have some troubles, and people mistake it as a mental illness. Like, what's wrong with this dude, with this girl? What's wrong with them? What's up? What's wrong? And it's not a mental illness. It's not a mental illness. It's not a mental illness. Our brains are different. As a matter of fact, the BBC, not the porn acronym, but the BBC, I think now it's open. They opened it now. Now it's opened. It's open now. And we have to preserve, because here's a nature preservation, and so we have to preserve it as it was open now. But of course, I have to be careful, because I did a lot of cleaning in the past, you know. I did a lot of cleaning here in the past, so just organized, and that's why we need the DGA Dancing Goddess Army. Dancing Goddess Army, we need the Dancing Goddess Army here. And please respect, if you come here, don't pollute. If you come in the wilderness or on the mountain, just like, you know, bags like this. I don't have gloves or a backpack to pick up, but that's not, you know, don't leave trash here, don't leave, there's already plenty which we gotta clean there, see? We gotta clean, that's why I'm doing an assessment now. See, we gotta clean all that, oh my goodness. This all needs to be clean, see, look at that. It's full of plastic. That's why we need the Dancing Goddess Army, aka North American Integrated Dance League, via my DRT theory to be established ASAP, to come and dance and clean, and for purpose the DGA Canada United States joint institution, just like the NHL and the NFL, because my goodness, we gotta do a big cleaning, guys and girls, and whatever androgynous like me, see, that's no good. We gotta do it as an individual. I gotta do it myself, because see, it's you gotta clean. This has no place staying there. It's gotta be a big cleaning here, you know. If we don't do the cleaning here, we're not gonna do the big cleaning here, you know. So we got a big cleaning there to get doing, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. So that's what we're gonna get doing with that. And see, we gotta clean, a lot of cleaning on the environment here. That's what we're gonna get doing with that. So anyways, just like I was saying, of course, there's a lot of cleaning to be done here, so something which we gotta get doing, you know. So it's a lot of cleaning around about here, but it takes the individual, you know. It takes the individual to do. That's what we gotta get doing with that, you know. So Here we are on the side. So you be careful if you go there. You can't really go too much there up there because there's a risk. That's more during the winter though. That's for the winter, you know, when it's the sliding of the snow. That's mostly for that. Yeah, advertised the warning signs there. Anyways, so that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. So it's something which we gotta be doing on the go, you know. Yeah. Rock and roll. So being an Aspies can be tough for employment, you know. Being an Aspie can be tough. So we're gonna go to the end and we're gonna discuss the DRT. And again, to finalize on Asperger's, the most problem is, big part of the problem is that it's mislabeled, misunderstood. It's construed as a mental illness. As a mental illness. As a mental illness. Which is not, it's just that our brain has a mutation. An Aspie brain has a mutation. Has a mutation. Has a mutation. So that mutation makes me and many other Aspies prone to these special interests, prone to these special characteristics. Characteristics which can be weird and odd and strange even. But I don't like violence personally. I do not like violence. I don't like violence. I am hyper vigilant because I lived being attacked by surprise. You know, I have scars on the body and plenty of scars on the body, internal trauma, and whatever the case may be. I'm not gonna go into a dimension, of course, that I have to discuss whatever the case may be, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get going. So here, you know, that's how we gotta get doing. And see here how my brain works. Now I see all the trucks, the truckers, they're going east, west, north, south. And so seeing them there, I know that they're going east and they're going west, but what are they carrying? I'm not sure what they're carrying, whatever they're carrying, I'm not sure. I don't know for sure. Maybe they're carrying some goods, maybe they're carrying some services. Whatever they're carrying, it might be vital. Might be vital for the transportation, might be vital for, of course, the kids, the children's nutrition. Think about that. Children's nutrition, that's a point of sabotage. Imagine, eh? The supply chains for the, you know, the purees. You know, because if we have made powerful enemies, internal, who don't like the North American Collective, they're gonna be open for sabotage and espionage. So you have then the food for the grown-ups, but the children, of course, first. The children who are part of the North American Collective, if they get the sabotage all the supply chains for the purees, right? That's a major aspect. So see how my brain, Aspie brain works? It's always for SSD, security, service and defense. It's always for SSD, security, service and defense. It's always for SSD, security, service and defense. It's always for SSD, security, service and defense, you know. That's what it is. It's always for SSD, security, service and defense. That's what it is. That's what it is, and you know, that's what we gotta get doing with that. And here we got the train also. So this is how my mind works, you know, in terms of the SSD, this SSD, security, service and defense, because that's what the Dragon Army stands for. The S as the security, service, and defense. And now, of course, between the wilderness and the civilization. And of course, we're interdependent. Right? Because in the wilderness, we still got to clean, right? And as I shown in this week and last week's videos, I show inside the garbage a few times, 3-4 times in different garbages. You see there that there's a lot of stuff which has to go into recycling. Look at a butterfly. Thank you, my only fan. Nothing to see in my only fans, because being androgynous, got a little tiny scar clit dick. But I guess my only fans will be just kisses, because I got 718 trillions of kisses, 718 trillions of kisses to give, of course, to all willingly loving, pledge your allegiance, legions, and my Publik King, the Sun. And yes, sometimes we have subconscious elements, myself included. I have to integrate the, subconscious, and I'm a mystic. I have some spiritual work to do. I believe in reincarnations. I was born in the United States three times. Once as a woman, twice as a man, served in the same United States Armed Forces, 156 years apart. 156 years apart. The wars were 156 years apart, and served in the United States Army. And here I am, joyous. When I come here, I'm always joyous in the neighborhood, and that's what we are. I love the yellow flowers with that, and that's all we gotta go with that. Gotta get it for the go, and gotta get it for the drill, and that's all we gotta get doing on that. And we gotta get on that liberation. Sometimes we just gotta check those yellow flowers, and we just gotta get on the go, and that's all we gotta meditate. As I love yellow flowers, and whatever the case may be, sometimes we just gotta. I'm looking for bees actually, but I can't see any bees. So that's what. Oh, maybe there. So back to Asperger's again to finalize. The problem is Aspies, people like myself, who are 0.44% of the population, there's a high level of unemployment. It's very high. A lot of Aspies suffer from that, myself included. I had many employments and jobs, because we're different and weird and awkward, but we can be very good at other things. When it comes to geopolitics, myself, that's my kingdom, my domain. But again, I'm a North American, Quebec, Canadian, North American geopolitical theoretical honest theorist. As much as I know the philosophies, the history, the wars, and the fact is, the primary fact of which I take great pride in my geopolitical independent, geopolitical theoretical analysis, is that I predicted what's happening now. Back in 2019, in October, November 2019, I predicted what's happening now, and that's what it is. And here I am today. Financially stressed, struggling, but hey, I got some food at home. I got some coffee, got some beans, got some crackers, got a little bit of I don't think I have honey any left, but I got sugar because I like sweets, so I can still work and do it on the work and getting on those pedals there, so you gotta get doing on that, and gotta get doing on the love side of things. And I want to be loved and love, and if you're friends with benefits only from now on, pledge your allegiance. Friends with benefits only from now on, pledge your allegiance. That is the song, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, so that is what it is. Freedom is a double-edged sword, so that's what it is with that. Never say I wanna speak. Never say I wanna speak. Maybe that's a nasty thing, but see, I'm weird and awkward and socially weird, and that's it. Friends with benefits only. Thanks for understanding. Pledge your allegiance. Our family, you know the drill. Pledge your allegiance. Our family, you know the drill. Pledge your allegiance. Our family, you know the drill. And unfortunately, there's high unemployment with Aspie community, which is a tiny, small fraction of the population. Also, not only a small fraction, but whatever the case may be, that is what it is with that, and that's all we gotta get doing on that, and that's all we gotta get doing on the go. And here, I see all the trucks, and all the truckers See, what are they carrying? I know that it might be vital for the continuity of the North American collective civilizational complex. That's why I gotta be knowing and establish the Dragon Army to know everything that's coming in from the ports and the airports. That's why you gotta get rid of the border. Create a common passport, and the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated Legion for SSD, only SSD based on my new 911 Dragon Army protocols. New 911 Dragon Army protocols, new 911 Dragon Force SS Dragon North American Dragon 911 protocols for total SSD. Total security for total service. Total security for total service. Total security for total service. And who wants to love service? You gotta love service, you know. Service to self and others. It can be balanced, you know. I'm not pretense that I don't like, you know, bacon and cheese and, you know, I like my BDSM switch. No need to spy on me. Secret services of Russia, secret services of China. Stay over there. Don't come in Montreal, Hawk Island. I like to be whipped and degraded in my private life. Yeah, adults, you gotta be 18, otherwise I'm gonna card you, eh? I'm gonna card you. Now when I'm General Drago, you gotta obey the orders. General Rainbow Dragon Cuckold, you gotta give me push-ups, cadence for SSD, service, security, and defense for the 63 legions. 63 legions, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. 3 plus 10 plus 50 is 63 for the new kingdom. Democratic Republican here. Public, universal revolutionary centrist, aspie, artist, athlete, philosopher, androgynous, pansexual, who loves that BDSM switch. No need to spy on me. Secret services of China. I got a little tiniest little scar clit dick. I literally have scars on my body, and yeah, it goes rocket sometimes. God has blessed my clit dick, clitoris. 50-50. A man, a woman, man. Comes to geopolitics, rock and roll, sports, fitness. I top 24/7, but other things, you know, I just have more difficulty in. But geopolitics, and yes, aspie community, my tiny small 0.44% of the population, not even 1%, less than half of a percent. We also, there's a high suicidal ideation tendencies and thoughts, and, you know, actions, so prone to suicidal tendencies, and also depression. So I lived through that, was depressed, was suicidal, I guess, having Asperger's, being different, and neurodivergence, loneliness, and stress, and financial stress mostly. But I learned to accept it. You know, I have Asperger's. I gotta live with it, and always gotta build bridges with the neurotypicals. And when those bridges can be built, and otherwise respecting the individual's solid individual liberty and freedom and security and solidarity, and the body's a temple for pleasure and purpose, and I will and craved, you know, to be massaged and give a massage, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. Be to get a massage and get that massage going, and my cousin there with the bike and happiness and smiling, and that's good. I'm happy for a citizen, you know. Working out is good, and joy, you know, and my individual liberty and sovereignty with somebody else's liberty and sovereignty, you know. My individual liberty and sovereignty with the collective. It's always, that's why my PPP based dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, is best for the North American civilizational complex, at least where we are now at this point in time, where we are now as a civilizational collective. A North American civilizational complex which is not totally divorced but distinct from Western civilization. And when I say I'm a universal revolutionary centrist, that's when this universal revolutionary centrism is North American centric for the fusion of Canada and United States thereof via democratic republican system, democratic republican constitutional dragon army system based for the new 911 protocols for total SSD, security, service, and defense. And I gotta know everything that's coming in from the airports and the ports and the airports, because the border we don't need for total service and security and defense, and to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the dancing goddess army for the environment, education, and cleaning, and the dragon army for the North American integrated SSD, only to work for SSD, security, service, and defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, you know. service, security, and defense, and whatever those things imply, whatever with consent, hygiene, and we gotta build centers where we can have total surveillance for total security and total service across the North American Collectif, Canada, United States based, and we gotta get rid of the border, create a common passport, common currency. We gotta do a great census of the population and who's eligible to serve in the Dragon Army and the Dancing Goddess Army. I guess those who've been living in Canada, United States, let's say since COVID, February 2020 or summer 2017, 5 or 7 years, I guess, you can diverge and get the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act to start building those 44. The number after 43 before 45 is 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. In case of a thermonuclear war. So that's all we're gonna get doing with that, and that's all we're gonna get doing, you know. And see how my brain works. Aspie brain. I'm wondering now, how come on that bus says 40? I'm 44. 40 and 44. That's at least what I saw, because I saw it blurred. I think my eyes are still healing, I guess. I gotta throw some filth in it, under clouds on the eye of around the sun. The full moon lasts until, I guess, today's probably like the first going on the second day. It's until Thursday, 12:44 p.m. Thursday, I guess. So lots of cleaning, lots of meditation until then, because full moon is about 3 days once it starts. And now that I'm on the subject, I want to finish with the Asperger's again. Thank you. I gotta give a shout out to the fellow Aspie who sent $25.44 last year, a few months ago, for my support. So Aspies gotta support, I guess, each other as other communities, you know, support each other. And I guess Aspies, and if you're a dragon, friends with benefits only, you know, if I could be of service, just ask. You gotta be 18 for loving, though. If you want to LOVE with me, black, white, and rainbow, men and women, black, white, and the Dragon Army, Dancing Goddess Army, the Kingdom, Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom is open to all, non-sectarian, and that's what it is. We're for the 21st century to move forwards in the collective, and yes, you know, we gotta strive for racism we might have subconsciously, you know, subconsciously. We might have, so we got to work on it with action. I put on the table for my brothers and sisters who are blacks, black women, black men. I put kisses on the table, kisses on the table, kisses on the table, kisses on the table, kisses on the table for my uncle. They're safe and secured on the line. And see, you got 22 and 44. The other one was 40 and 44. This one you got 0, 22 and 44. So the buses, this is an odd weird thing of Asperger's. We focus on details which seem inconsequential, which seem like, what the fuck, what WTF is up with that? Well, that's the Aspie brain, you know. We tend to focus on certain details, and that can seem, of course, very weird and awkward and strange, and that's all we gotta get doing with that. So, and see, that's the number. I wonder, basically what I'm wondering is what the numbers on the bus means for the classification, if there's a classification motive or reason. I guess the brains and the muscle, mostly the brains, who decided that there's a purpose and meaning, a purpose to the numbers there. And I guess, wow, but here we really gotta clean. That's why we need the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, ASAP. We really need the Dancing Goddess Army to clean this. So I don't have the gloves and the black bag, but all this for the environment. See how much that breaks my heart, man. So the DGA is for that, for cleaning the North American Collective, the valleys, the green spaces, and doing environmental education, and even cleaning, like you saw in the past videos, because you saw, of course, that it's putting it in the garbage, you know. You gotta get putting it in the garbage instead of the recycling, the plastic bottles, or the plastic bottles, or the paper. If you put it in the garbage, it doesn't go in the garbage, it goes in the recycling, and vice versa, vice versa. So I gotta do better myself every day. I gotta self-improve, and You know, sometimes that's it, that's all. Friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family, men and women, black, white. You want to come loving? Well, just ask. You got to be 18. I'm going to hear cannabis is legal since 2019. Cannabis, weed, marijuana, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So, being that it's legal, you know, being that it's legal, it's legal. Just that's to love me, you know, make some good loving with me. Got to be of legal age. So, it's just like buying liquor or booze. So that's just gonna be the protocol. So now I'm gonna discuss the DRT, debt refusion theory. DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, universal exchange. And this is another paradox of Asperger's. Because my special interest is geopolitics. So when you study geopolitics, you gotta have an awareness, a little bit of knowledge, information, wisdom, understanding of public finance, right? So last year in Canada, we paid 46.5 billion in interest. 46.5 billion in interest. 46.5 billion in interest. Compute that number. 46.5 billion. No, a billion has not 7 or 8 zeros. A million has 6 zeros. A billion has 9 zeros. So that is a billion with 9 zeros. That means that 46.5 billion, that is the equivalent of 46,000 million. That was the amount paid in interest. You gotta double check these numbers from the Bank of Canada. Mark Carney worked in finance banking. Uncle Carney. What are we gonna cut? Because the amount of interest paid on the public debt more than doubled. More than doubled. So in 2020, 2021, the number was 20.3 billion. 20.3 billion times 2, that's 40.6 billion. 40.6. The number jumped to 46.5. The number jumped to 46.5. The number jumped to 46.5 billion. So basically you notice mathematically that it more than doubled. So obviously, since our GDP, gross domestic product, the economy of Canada didn't double, I asked Uncle Mark Carney while stating that the king is absent. The king. We gotta end pledging allegiance to the King of England, and we gotta liberate ourselves from that. We gotta totally liberate ourselves, you know, from the king, and it's time for the republic. It's time for the republic. It's time for the republic. The king is absent. King is an absentee landlord, so I gotta ask Mark Carney, what are we gonna cut? 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 What are we gonna cut in terms of spending? We have to cut something, and I gotta give a shout out to the public workers who decided, and the engineers and the architects, and of course the brains and the muscle working together to put these layers like this. See, it makes me think, because I lived in past lives incarnation, of the Babylonian hanging gardens, although it's 1 row, 2 rows, 3, and the 4th above. See, 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one is above. See, kind of like the Babylonian hanging gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the world. It kind of makes me think about that hanging gardens type of situation. Maybe we can build a forgotten goddess temple, because I will to build a forgotten goddess temple, because I created my surviving COVID, being attacked by surprise, and living, you know, it's being suicidal and depressed to the goddess, GODDSS, and that's all we got to do with that, and that's all we got to get on that meditation, and that's all we got to get doing for the also building on the Canadian-US border, that way south, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, to be for sportis in perpetuitis, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, aka the Blackout Ball, aka the Caesar Superdome, aka the Blackout Ball, where the Blackout Ball, aka Harbor Ball, aka Bro Bowl was of course fought, and my 49ers lost. 49ers lost, of course. The 49ers lost to the Ravens. One of the great Super Bowls, one of my top 5 favorite Super Bowls. See how it is here? How it's like 1 layer, 2, 3, and then the 4th one above. It's kind of like the hanging gardens. It's really nice. I really like what they did here. It's really nice. See, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's really quite nice engineering and nice public works project. By the implementation of my DRT, we're going to be able to build mass public works, including building those 44 tunnels, TUNNELS, tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war, and build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, where me and Donald Trump is going to have the inauguration fight to fight on the Canadian-US border, 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 on the Canadian-US border. That mega structure, the biggest sports venue arena in the history of the world, and to be 11 times bigger, 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome before. It used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it had another name, so it changed my name, like I turned DA into an O, became Adrian Hanna Dragon, Dragon became Dragon. The A of my surname turned into an O after I completed successfully 300 sessions of my own created workout training program system back, of course, that I created back in 2019 in October, November, when I concluded that humanity set again towards an international conflagration, and so made, created, and produced that workout training program system designed, created to go hand in hand with such a scenario, you know. So that is what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. So the DRT for that refusion theory, gonna explain it now as succinctly as simple as possible can, because again, another characteristics of Asperger's is, of course, utilizing too much verbose, academic, intellectual, sophisticated, or scholarly language and terminology and linguistic use, which is not proponent to explaining the solution or explaining whatever mathematical equations or mathematical principles or whatever other case may be. So, and again, I'm gonna ask Uncle Connie, what are we gonna cut? Because our interests double, and yes, due to coronavirus, which I had and survived, it was like death, pestilence, and disease for me. I thought that was my last chapter. I survived it. Here I am, survived COVID in between February 2020, between mid-February 2020 and March 2020, I had COVID. I survived it, and so I ask, and I know, of course, that the interests have more than doubled from 20.3 billion in 2020-21. The fiscal year 2020-21 was 20.3 billion. So that double was 40.6. So it more than doubled to 46.5. So we're gonna have to cut, because just like the mathematical financial principle, and who wants to finance yours truly going up and down these stairs 300 times for $300, up and down 300 times, Dragon versus Trump, I guess running, somebody gonna film it, I'm open for business, blah blah blah, pledge your allegiance, legions. And because just like the mathematical financial principle of an individual whose interest payments go from 156 to 333, that is double. 156 double is 312, but it more than double, so it'd be something like 333. So if your interest payments go from 156, or the citizen X, citizen Y, citizen Z, if the interest payments jump from 156 to 333, that means an individual has to cut the budget, the spending. If the salary doesn't double, the salary also has to double. Consequently, the salary also has to double. So if it doesn't double, see, that's downtown Korea, Montreal. If the salary does double, then one citizen X, citizen Y, citizen Z will be okay. And that's my favorite skyscraper, the pyramid there. My favorite skyscraper. So if the salary doubles, then it's okay. But our GDP didn't double. So our GDP, gross domestic product, did not double. So consequently, we're gonna have to cut and reduce the budget. We're gonna have to cut the spending. We're gonna have to cut the spending with that. We're gonna have to cut the spending. So being that, of course, we're gonna have to reduce and cut the spending, that is what we're gonna have to be doing. We're gonna have to cut the spending. So what are we gonna cut? We're gonna cut and reduce what exactly? We're gonna cut and reduce what, Mr. Connie? defense, national defense, the hospitals, the sanitation, those who pick up the garbage, the compost, the police, RCMP, the Mounties, the prisons, security. What are we going to cut? What are we going to reduce? You realize that we are on the verge. It could have happened today after I left at 3 p.m. I think it was 3:16 when I left my headquarters, Dragon headquarters, small on the ground from our Sun Temple. We're going to have to cut and reduce the spending. We're going to have to cut and reduce the spending. We're going to have to cut something because our GDP, our economy did not double. That is the motive, just the financial motive, the principle behind it is we're going to have to cut and reduce the spending. Or this place, I can go up and down 300 times on these stairs, you know, for world peace and for Dragon versus Trump. So we're going to have to cut the spending. We're going to have to cut the spending. We're going to have to cut the spending. That's what we're going to have to be doing. We're going to have to cut and reduce the spending. Whatever we're going to cut and reduce. We are on the verge of a public financial collapse. I hope people realize and see the financial mathematical principle at hand. It cannot be sustained. That's just how it is. It cannot be sustained mathematically. Financially, the fact that our interest on the public debt has more than doubled is unsustainable. Unsustainable with that. Unsustainable. We're going to have to reduce and cut the spending. Here you can see downtown Korea. So we're going to have to cut and reduce something in the budget. There's just no way out of this financial fiscal situation. It's a critical point. The financial collapse, public financial collapse of Canada could have started now. Could have started today. Could start now. Could start tomorrow. See? Could start now. Could start tomorrow. So that is just the principle of operation. The financial collapse could start any minute, any second, today or tomorrow. The financial collapse, the public financial collapse of Canada could start now. There's no way out of the situation where we are now but my DRT theory, and that's a paradox. You can argue all you want, but or something that resembles my DRT, the debt refusion theory, yes. Something which resembles my DRT theory, yes. But something very similar to my DRT theory. Because both in the public and the private, and I'm speaking for Canada, United States joint, because my DRT theory is to be implemented bi-nationally, just like the establishment of the NHL, NBA, and the PVHL, but as a public-private partnership concordium of the Adrian Hanna Dragon's Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, which I'm laying the foundations with 718 trillions of kisses, right from this underground room off Sun Temple where I go and march around Montreal, Hawk Island. Beautiful cranes, got a crane fetish. Salutation to the crane operators, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, those in the daycares who change some diapers, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the plumbers, the welders, IT workers, aviation workers, all those involved in the production, distribution of food across the North American Collective. And yours truly, the DRT paradox that I presented on the table. It is consequentially, we have to implement the DRT, the debt refusion theory, for the North American Collective Civilizational Complex, for the North American Civilizational Complex Collective. That's how we gotta be implementing, and we gotta be doing with that. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, and keep in mind that my DRT theory also includes in it monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. I'm just gonna go hydrate a bit, and then go back how we came, by La Falaise, by that place. So my DRT theory integrates, it's perfect. So my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, is of course for the creation of the UE. So my DRT theory integrates in it monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So I'm pressing with the shirt because I gotta check my disinfectant. I gotta fill it back at home because I don't want to use it too much unless I clean my hands at the hospital here, because you never know. I wish and call on all to please keep in the public at least. In the public at least. In the private, I guess it's your business, although me myself with Asperger's have to overly be mindful, and because Aspies we have a tendency to, you know, to put secondary other things around the house, other things around the world. Basically what it is with that. So we have a tendency to, of course, for more prone for neglecting certain things of our daily lives, but not hygiene and stuff like that, but other things, you know, which we need some support in, myself included, some support, minimal support for me. Is usually with things that can be pretty simple, and if I'm told, I do it. If I'm told, I do it. If I'm told, I do it, because I'm pretty vigorous and love an active lifestyle, but I live with this Asperger condition, being an Aspie. So basically, the problematic here is that we're on the verge of a financial public collapse, and again, I call all to please keep the hygienic protocols from COVID. Disinfect the hands, at least in the public, because you never know, microbes, germs, bacteria, you know, they're all around, and I don't know what caused coronavirus. It could have been a bioweapon. I believe it was snakes to human beings, but it could have also been microbes, germs that we don't know. But I know I had it, I survived it. I got triple vaxxed right here at the hospital, not far right there. I got triple vaxxed, 3 vaccines, that's it for me, and I keep the protocols. So the DRT, debt refusion theory, integrates monetary integration theory. We're gonna take all the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt. So my debt, your debt, our debt. All the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt. So my debt, your debt, our debt, all the public and the private debt. We're gonna convert it into US dollars. And again, there's no way around it. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, all of it together. So all the public and the private debt, my $10,000, your coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We're gonna convert all the public and the private debt into US dollars. All that money is gonna be, of course, put into together. All the money gonna add it with the United States public-private debt. All that money is gonna be created for a new central bank, a new currency called the UE, the UE. U.universal, U.exchange, U.unit, U.universal, U.exchange, U.unit. The universal exchange unit. The universal exchange unit is gonna have, of course, the universal exchange unit is going to have the value of the US dollar. With that money, we're going to be able to rebuild the infrastructure of the North American Collective, rebuild, finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, mass finance tourism, build those 44 tunnels, construct, rebuild the infrastructure, build the Hydro-Quebec dams, build more Hydro-Quebec dams, and of course, lay the foundations for the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdoms, 2 complementary covenant cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army for the 63 legions to operate on SSD, and for SSD, security, service, and defense only. So that's what we're gonna do, implement those protocols. And here I'm in the hospital, so I gotta just hush it up a bit and I'm gonna go hydrate. So that's what we're gonna do, implement the DRT, the debt refusion theory. I'm just gonna go to the washroom and come back. See, there it is. So the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE. That's what we're gonna get doing. And here, see, this I'm gonna use to wash the hands. Yeah. Wash the hands, right? Wash the hands, right? You know? Make sure, you know? Make sure we wash the hands, you know? Gotta see how much it is and see how much we get going with that. And I'm just gonna hydrate and get a little bit of hydration here, you know? And that's about it. So make sure we get our hydration. I'm gonna wait a few seconds. Usually it's always best to wait a few seconds before we get in, and just for the air. And imagine just to have this here, how much is a privilege, eh? The privilege to have it built here and to have it consequently on the building, and for us to have access, you know, to the water. Something which we gotta be mindful of with that, you know. Oh yeah, that is what it is, and see you in a bit, I guess. No, we're gonna actually drive it down, and we can exit by that way. See, exit by here. You know, exit. Oh yeah, I think we can exit. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get exit on that, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. So the DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, for the creation of the universal exchange unit, that's what we're gonna get doing, you know, and we're gonna get doing on the consequential. I don't know how, but I can. I can. Here we go. This is what we're gonna get doing here, a little Hercules. Yeah, I guess I had to build my strength also. Having been attacked by surprise and fell, hit my head, had a dislocated shoulder, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing on the go, you know. So being that I was attacked by surprise, you know, a few years ago, fell, hit my head on the concrete, and had a dislocated right arm. Went into the Jewish, not this hospital, they went to the Jewish General Hospital, was replaced and put back, kind of cracked back, and was put on some meds. I was like, that medication kind of put me like in a coma, you know. But I survived that. I survived COVID, you know. Survived being attacked several times the past years, moved from a moldy underground place, and I live with memory loss, you know. Like I remember clearly most likely the past 7 years plus, then 8, 9, 10, 11 when I moved, and kind of gets a little bit on the blackout, retrograde amnesia. And here I am, joyous, financially stressed, but joyous, financially stressed. For saluting the nurses, gotta send some LOV rock and roll to the nurses, doctors, and the public. Please finance them, of course, some massage therapy session, you know. That's all we gotta get doing. Finance them some massage therapy sessions and street, and look at that beautiful sculpture, and make sure I cross and finish discussing the DRT before I move into French. So the DRT is the only thing. We're gonna have to take all the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars. We're going to add it with the US. We're going to create a new currency called the UE. Because inside my DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, is integrated monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory, which was implemented in the European Union. So basically, we're going to take all the public and the private debt, that money, That money is gonna be the money in circulation for this new bank. And we're gonna create the UE. U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.Unit. The UE. The universal exchange will have the value of the US dollar. Of course, we're gonna rebuild the infrastructure, build the bridges, whatever the case may be, build the bridges, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, rebuild the bridges and reconstitute the North American Civilisation Collective, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that. So we're gonna also mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, and working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. And that's what it is with that. Rebuild the North American Collective and build the aqueducts, the sewers, public workers, mass financing public workers with that. And that's how we're going to be rebuilding as I look towards the Montreal beautiful Hawk H-A-W-K. So the DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, pledge your allegiance, that's the solution. There's no other solution where we are now. You can argue all you want, but that is the solution. That is the solution. Or something very similar to where we are. We are approaching a public and private financial collapse. Both the United States and Canada is on a similar financial situation. Precarious financial situation for both the public and the private. So friends with benefits only, pledge your allegiance. Our family, we're gonna get it on the go. And for the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, please Wall Street millionaires, finance the firefighters, the public workers picking up the garbage, the compost, and the recycling. Finance them a massage therapy session. I wish I could afford one, but friends with benefits, let's exchange, trade. We got free consent, association, blah, blah, blah. Freedom with some pleasure in it and consent with it. And rock and roll 24/7. Somebody hopefully making LOVE, love in the free world. We're going to fuse that through North, strong and free. We got to add some LOVE to this through North, strong and free, because strength and freedom ain't enough, huh? For my brothers and sisters in the 50 states, because I was born in the USA post 1776. I hope it's not too much to ask to hug like you never hugged before today. From the land of the free and the home of the brave, we gotta add some LOV, loving in that. The DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, for the creation of the UE. We're gonna get rid of the border, create the UE, create a common passport, do a great census, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, SSD via the Dragon Army for the 63 legions, and the Dedie Goddess Army for the environment, French, because we in la belle province. Et bienvenue à c'est le jour de la canicule, québécois et québécoise. La canicule aujourd'hui. On descend, c'est la canicule. Je pense qu'il fait plus que 25 degrés. Ben, je pense que je déclare une canicule. Votre artiste aspire dragon arc-en-ciel. Messieurs, madame, pour les camionneurs, les boulangers, les boulangères font du pain, les camionneurs, les travailleurs de l'Hydro-Québec, les travailleurs du public qui changent les aqueducs du Rock&Roll 24/24. Je vis une crise financière, mais juste mes finances, il y a un stress sur mes finances, mais je dois dire quand même la gratitude. Mon loyer est payé, j'ai payé mon loyer, payé ma facture d'électricité, j'ai du café chez nous, j'ai du thé, puis j'ai de quoi me faire moi-même des choses à manger. Fait que, vous savez que j'aime ça, les gaufres, puis des choses, de la crème, du sucre, j'aime bien ça sucré, puis les gâteries, les pâtisseries, ben bon, c'est rock'n'roll, mais je vis avec cette condition de neurodivergence. C'est pas une maladie mentale, encore une fois, je le répète, parce qu'il y a beaucoup de confusion, puis bien sûr qu'il y a beaucoup de problèmes vis-à-vis de l'embauche à long terme, pas tant parce que des fois, tiens, les aspects, moi-même, j'ai eu bien de l'emploi que j'ai bien aimé, mais ça n'a pas duré longtemps, ça n'a pas duré longtemps à cause que, vous savez, mon cerveau il est différent. Il y a une mutation dans le cerveau des Aspergers. Nous, les Aspi, on fait partie d'une petite minorité. Hein. Il n'y a pas beaucoup des Aspi. Il n'y a pas bien d'Aspi. C'est moins d'1%. Moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage. C'est 0,44% de la population qui ont l'Aspergers. Fait qu'en étant Aspi, nous, on voit... Avec l'Aspergers, encore une fois, c'est pas une condition de maladie mentale. C'est juste que notre cerveau, il y a une mutation. Tu sais, une mutation dans le cerveau, là, fait que nous, on voit les choses différemment. On n'a pas le même... On a des problèmes, des difficultés. On est moins capable dans des choses, la communication non verbale, tu sais, la manière qu'on bouge des fois, les choses qu'on vit, qu'on s'exprime de cette manière un peu bizarre, un peu étrange, tu sais. Mais on a quand même nos forces, et nos forces se trouvent dans ce qu'on appelle nos intérêts spéciaux. Ces intérêts spéciaux, c'est aussi bien sûr aussi connu comme des intérêts obsessifs, mais ça ne rend pas justice utiliser le mot obsessif, parce que c'est pas une obsession dans le terme négatif. Les Asperger, comme moi, il faut qu'on ait du soutien, de l'encouragement dans ce domaine. Puis moi-même, c'est la géopolitique 24 sur 24. Juste ce matin, j'ai passé 5 heures, proche de 6, en faisant juste de l'analyse en géopolitique. J'analyse Donald Trump qui s'est rendu en visite en Arabie Saoudite. C'est rare pour la première, parce que là, c'est son deuxième mandat, mais pour la première visite d'un chef, pour que ça soit en Arabie Saoudite, c'est rare. Puis d'après, qu'est-ce que j'ai entendu? Il a regardé les éperviers. Des éperviers, hein, c'est mon oiseau préféré. Hein. Et bien sûr qu'ils ont signé un nouveau contrat de défense mutuelle, peut-être qui sera à 142 milliards. 1 milliard, c'est 1000 millions, encore une fois. Fait qu'il faut dire de cette manière, bien sûr, qu'on soit... que c'est quand même un gros super montant énorme quand même. Puis nous, encore une fois, je le dis en termes que moi-même, je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, que moi-même, je me prononce que notre intérêt fondamental, principalement, nous, en tant qu'analystes et théoriciens en géopolitique, notre intérêt principalement, fondamentalement, c'est qu'on soit, c'est qu'on aille, bien sûr, notre intérêt, premièrement, là, fondamentalement, en tant que Québécois, Canadien, Québécois, bon, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations possibles avec les États-Unis. C'est d'avoir les meilleures relations possibles avec les États-Unis. Ça, c'est une constance. Comme le chiffre, le symbole mathématique pi, là, tu sais, comme le N avec une petite virgule en haut. Tu sais, le pi, c'est un chiffre, ça ne change jamais. C'est 3,1416, puis ça continue à l'infinitum. Ce chiffre-là, c'est pour la surface d'un cercle, habituellement, le pi. C'est mathématique, mais aussi mystique un peu. Puis moi-même, j'ai un côté mystique, spirituel. Je crois à des réincarnations, mais moi, j'étais né des fois homme, des fois femme. Même ici au Québec, j'étais québécoise. Mais québécoise, avant que ça soit la belle province d'aujourd'hui, tu sais, c'est dans le temps de la Nouvelle-France, là, tu sais, en 1744, même avant que les États-Unis déclarent l'indépendance de l'Empire britannique. Puis je dois dire, franchement, puis je le dis en tant qu'analyste et théoricien géopolitique, le roi est absent. Le propriétaire, il n'est pas ici, il ne vit pas ici. Tu sais, comme un propriétaire qui a les logements qu'on appelle, qu'on peut appeler, là, mais en anglais, je dis, the landlord is absent. Fait qu'on doit, c'est le temps pour la République, c'est le temps pour faire l'implémentation d'une maternité de théorie, soit la théorie d'intégration citoyenne, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, TRD. Puis ça presse parce que c'est urgent, parce qu'on est rendu à être vraiment proche d'un effondrement des finances publiques et bien du privé aussi, privé-public. C'est pour ça mon rêve, qui se manifeste comme le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé, un PPP, qu'est-ce que j'appelle. Puis moi-même, j'ai mes vulnérabilités dans certaines choses. Vous savez que cette condition de neurodivergence, cette différence qui est l'autisme fonctionnel, l'Asperger, ça fait que j'ai souffert beaucoup, hein. Je vis avec beaucoup de cicatrices, j'ai survécu la COVID, j'étais en dépression, j'étais suicidaire. Maintenant, c'est juste un stress financier depuis que je fais de l'entraînement bien souvent au quotidien. Je m'entraîne tous les jours. Puis bien sûr aussi, le fait là, que j'ai survécu la COVID en 2020, en février puis mars, je pensais vraiment que c'était la COVID, coronavirus. C'était mon dernier chapitre. Fait que j'ai survécu ça. Fait qu'ayant survécu ça, mais ça m'a fait comme apprécier le quotidien aussi, tu sais. Avec tout le stress, les cicatrices, le trompe, tout ce que j'ai vécu moi-même. Puis, bien sûr, depuis comme 3 ans et demi, durant la COVID aussi, j'ai accepté parce que ça faisait bien des années qu'on m'avait diagnostiqué avec l'Asperger's. L'autisme fonctionnel, l'Asperger's. Puis, nous, les Aspi, on n'est pas beaucoup. Hein? Il y a moins d'1% de la population, moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage. Même pas 1%, là, il n'y a pas bien des Asperger's. C'est 0,44% de la population. Fait que nous, on a comme un rituel, routine. Puis moi, ça se tourne autour de la géopolitique. Des études, des théories, des revisions de la géopolitique. J'en fais au quotidien pendant des heures. J'arrive chez nous, c'est ça que je fais. Sur l'entraînement physique puis de révision, puis bien en étant artiste aussi, parce que je suis artiste avec Aspi, c'est le Rock&Roll, la composition de dialogue, de cinéma, là, du dialogue, puis de Rock&Roll, puis des scènes de cinéma, là, pour le cinéma puis le Rock&Roll. Je suis artiste aussi. Mais bon, que ce soit, mais la géopolitique, je dois dire, c'est ça mon royaume vraiment. Fait que j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant de la géopolitique du monde en octobre-novembre 2019. Je reviens à ça parce que c'est important. Ça fait un cheminement de mon cheminement. Là. C'est une partie super importante que je dois toujours noter, puis prendre note, puis faire souligner aux gens, là, parce que c'est important, puis j'ai la preuve pour ça. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019, en octobre, en novembre. J'ai prévu la situation qui se déroule en ce moment. En 2019, j'ai prévu la situation qui se déroule en ce moment en 2019, en octobre et en novembre. Et c'est bien sûr de ce point de vue que j'ai prévu la situation actuelle qui se déroule en ce moment, que je l'ai prévu moi-même, que j'ai prévu la situation qui se déroule maintenant. Puis j'avais conclu que l'humanité, on se dirige vers une conflagration internationale, soit une troisième guerre mondiale, et dû au fait que bien des régions, bien des pays, des nations aux États n'ont pas été capables de résoudre leurs problèmes, n'ont pas été capables de résoudre leurs problèmes du 20e siècle. C'est ça qui arrive avec l'Ukraine puis la Russie. Puis ici, il y a bien du nettoyage qu'on doit faire. Regardez ça, là. L'environnement, tu sais. L'environnement, c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qui me concerne moi-même. C'est pour ça que j'appelle pour faire la fondation de l'armée de la déesse qui danse. L'armée de la déesse qui danse, l'armée de la déesse qui danse. Puis là, parallèlement avec l'armée du dragon, sur la Légion de l'Amérique du Nord intégrée pour la SSD, Sécurité Service Défense, parce que mes initiatives, protocoles sont fondamentalement pour ce que j'appelle le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Donc le Québec, on en fait partie, les Québécois et Québécoises, les Canadiens, on fait partie de ce grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. On est émergent, on n'est pas divorcé de l'Occident, mais on a des distinctions. Avec l'Occident. On n'est pas divorcé, mais on a des distinctions. Fait que c'est bien sûr ces choses-là qu'on doit faire de temps en temps. Prendre note qu'on est un collectif émergent. Puis ici, on a fait ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique du français, mais c'est sûr que moi aussi, je dois le faire moi-même. Hein, parce que si moi, je le fais pas, moi, en tant qu'individu québécois pour le français, mais je dois faire ma part, puis encourager les gens quand ils parlent le français, puis peut-être leur apprendre une phrase ou deux, ou des expressions, ou une petite chanson, ou des petites paroles de rock&roll ou de la poésie. Là. Chose que moi-même, j'en produis en tant que créateur de la culture, artiste. C'est ça que je fais aussi. Bien, de retour à la géopolitique, le fait, là, principalement, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant dans le monde. Puis c'est sûr que pour nous, là, d'autres considérations de côté, premièrement, fondamentalement, en tant que Québécois canadien, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations possibles avec les États-Unis. D'avoir les meilleures relations possibles avec les États-Unis. Ça, c'est fondamentalement, principalement, c'est ça. En deuxième, troisième place. Les autres choses en deuxième, troisième place. Les relations avec l'Europe ou avec l'Asie. Bien, la réalité de la géopolitique, c'est qu'en tant que Québécois, Canadiens, Québécois, fondamentalement, principalement, en première place, nous, notre intérêt géopolitique, politique, géopolitique, ça danse ensemble. Il n'y a pas de divorce de ça. Il n'y a pas de divorce dans ça. Comme des jumeaux. Jumeaux, jumelles, jumelles, jumeaux, jumeaux, jumelles. Là. Bon, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations possibles, économiques, financières, de culture, de défense, militaire, avec les États-Unis. Il n'y a pas oui et non, c'est ça. Il n'y a pas oui ou non. Ben, je veux dire, il n'y a pas de non ou peut-être. Il y a seulement oui. C'est comme la constance, le chiffre pi, 3.1416. C'est un chiffre pi, 3.1416. 3.1416. C'est comme le chiffre pi. 3.1416. 3.1416. C'est comme le chiffre pi. 3.1416 qui continue à l'infinitum pour la surface. C'est sûr, c'est des choses comme ça au quotidien moi-même, en étant différent, parce que les Aspi, les Aspergers, nous, on est différents. T'sais. Vous êtes la majorité, 99,56%. Moi, je fais partie de la 0,44%. Fait que je dois toujours bâtir des ponts. Puis moi, je suis quelqu'un qui n'aime pas la violence. Hein. J'aime pas la violence, mais je vis hyper vigilant, puis je vis en cette mode de troisième guerre mondiale. en cette mode de Troisième Guerre mondiale depuis 2019. Depuis 2019, cette guerre, principalement, tu sais, maintenant je vois mes cousins, puis mes cousines qui partent, parce que je les considère comme famille, les Québécois et Québécoises, puis Canadiens, puis le collectif nord-américain, puis j'aime ça voir des gens qui font le cyclisme, qui s'entraînent, puis depuis 2017, là, avant ça, j'étais en dépression, puis suicidaire, puis en 2017, quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, en août, j'étais allé à Colombie-Britannique, à Vancouver, en septembre à Halifax, en Nouvelle-Écosse. Et depuis ce temps-là, bien sûr, j'ai établi un esprit de corps solide avec les Canadiens et les Québécois. Québécois, Canadiens, vous êtes ma famille, puis nos frères et sœurs aux États-Unis, puis tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre dans le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. 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 Fait que c'est toujours la sécurité, la liberté de l'individu puis du collectif. Vous voyez, les cyclistes, je vais vous appeler ma cousine, mon cousin, là, mais comme ça, là, par référence citoyen et citoyenne, là, personnel et impersonnel, c'est un petit peu des deux. Un petit peu des deux, là, parce que je vous considère comme une famille, là, québécois, canadien, nord-américain, là, mais c'est aussi l'individu, la souveraineté de l'individu vis-à-vis de la responsabilité pour le collectif. Il y a certaines choses, c'est sûr que je peux pas dire ou je peux pas faire dans le public. J'ai des responsabilités additionnelles. C'est sûr que des fois, j'ai des mouvements un peu bizarres en tant qu'Asperger's ou des fois, tu sais, je chante bizarre, étrange, différent, là, mais c'est... Je suis pas violent, j'aime pas la violence. Je suis intense, super concentré, super dedans. Intensité, les aspects, nous, on peut être très intense, surtout quand on fait les choses qu'on a des intérêts spéciaux. Puis moi, quand je m'entraîne, je fais cet entraînement physique que je suis en train de faire maintenant, m'asseoir pour perdre du poids, pour me mettre plus en forme le plus possible. Depuis 7 ans, j'ai perdu entre 80 et 93 livres. Puis je vous encourage moi-même à l'entraînement physique, ça fait tellement du bien. Mais vous voyez comment mon cerveau maintenant fonctionne. Je vois le train, je sais qu'il s'en va vers l'ouest. Puis je vois les autoroutes, je vois les camions. Je sais qu'ils ont de la marchandise, peut-être de la marchandise qui est super importante pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Puis je sais qu'on est ouvert au sabotage, potentiellement, au sabotage et à l'espionnage par des puissances externes. On s'est fait des ennemis puissants dernièrement, dernières années, parce qu'on s'est impliqué de manière militaire, à cause qu'on a donné des armes, tu sais. On a financé, puis on a donné du soutien militaire. Non seulement du soutien financier ou humanitaire, on a donné des armes, des armements. Fait que c'est pour ça que je m'exprime de même. Fait que là, je ne veux pas tarder, je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique, puis je veux qu'on discute la TRD, super important, que j'oublie pas de discuter la TRD, de la refusion de la dette. Ça vient encore une fois de la malédiction un peu de l'Asperger's que j'ai souffert, j'ai perdu bien de l'emploi à cause de ça. J'ai perdu bien de l'emploi à cause de ça, mais j'ai eu bien de la misère, puis j'ai fait bien sûr des choses que je dois faire comme des aspects, mais j'ai quelque chose sur la table, à part les milliards de bijoux crédités par la déesse, parce que je veux bâtir le temple de la déesse oubliée moi-même, puis je veux bâtir et construire bien sûr le palais du peuple de l'Amérique du Nord, sur la frontière canado-états-unienne, pour avoir un sport en perpétuité 24/24, ou que moi et Donald Trump, on va bien sûr se battre dans un combat de boxe. Je fais appel à Donald Trump depuis 2018 pour me combattre dans un combat de boxe, et bien sûr pour bâtir la pyramide écarlate rouge, Maison du Dragon, avec bien sûr la Maison du Dragon et bien sûr le palais du peuple arc-en-ciel, ça veut dire pour les neurodivergents et moi-même étant androgyne, pansexuel, là. 55 ans, je fais partie de la communauté LGBTQ, puis neurodivergent. Fait que pour cette communauté-là, c'est 4 bâtiments, puis je veux qu'on bâtisse, construire ensemble les travailleurs en construction Rock&Roll, là. Quand je vous vois sur la grue, ben, je vous admire, puis c'est les travailleurs en construction qui ont construit tout le kit, les travailleurs publics, il faut les financer, il faut les aimer, puis envoyer de l'amour, les Rock&Roll, les camionneurs, les boulangers, puis les infirmières, les docteurs, les travailleurs publics, bien sûr les électriciens, les plombiers, les soudeurs, tous ceux qui font dans les épiceries, puis tout dans le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça presse, car on est proche d'avoir un effondrement financier, pas juste ben du monde dans le privé, mais dans le public, pourquoi je me prononce ainsi? C'est car l'année passée, on a payé 46 milliards en intérêt sur la dette publique. 46 milliards, 1 milliard, ça passe 7 ou 8 zéros, c'est 9 zéros. Donc 1 milliard, c'est équivalent à 1000 millions. Et en 2020-2021, le montant, c'était de 20,3 milliards. Si vous faites le calcul, 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. Fait que c'est plus que double. Vous voyez qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. C'était rendu à 46,5. Oui, à cause de la coronavirus, que moi-même, j'ai survécu la COVID. Je pensais que j'allais mourir en 2020, au début février-mars 2020. J'ai eu le coronavirus, COVID. Bien sûr, là, c'est sûr que notre économie, le produit intérieur brut, n'a pas doublé, mais l'intérêt, ça a doublé à cause des programmes qu'on a dû implémenter à cause de la coronavirus. Mais à cause de ça, imaginez-vous là, qu'on est rendu à payer tellement sur la dette publique, on n'a pas le choix de couper quelque chose dans le budget parce que fondamentalement, là, le même principe mathématique s'applique pour un individu. Si l'individu citoyen-citoyenne, si l'individu citoyen-citoyenne, l'intérêt double. Mettons, ça saute de 156 $ à 333 parce que 156 fois 2, c'est 312. Fait que si c'est plus que double, c'est proche de 333, sinon 333 est l'équivalence pour le micro, le citoyen qui paye l'intérêt sur les cartes de crédit, moi-même, j'ai pas de carte de crédit, et bien sûr le macro au niveau du collectif du Canada au complet. Fait que l'intérêt sur la dette publique canadienne, c'était 46,5 milliards. Fait que je demande à mon oncle Carney, qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? On va devoir couper quelque chose, la sanitation, la défense nationale, la police, les prisons. Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans la... On va devoir couper quelque chose. 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 Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans ça? Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? On va devoir couper dans quelque chose. C'est quoi qu'on va couper, bien sûr? On va devoir couper quelque chose, hein? On va devoir couper quelque chose. Fait que, c'est quoi qu'on va couper? Je demande à mon oncle Carney. Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? On va couper la prison, la GRC. On va devoir faire des coupes, couper quelque chose, hein? On peut pas soutenir ça. On peut pas parce que notre GDP, notre produit intérieur brut n'a pas doublé. Fait comme un individu, si le salaire ne double pas, ça veut dire que lui, citoyenne, ça veut dire bien sûr que il faut que ça coupe dans le budget. Il faut qu'on coupe dans le budget. Il faut qu'on coupe quelque chose. Moi-même, je n'ai pas de carte de crédit moi-même, mais il va falloir que je coupe moi-même quelque chose dans le budget si ça arrive dans la présence-conséquence. C'est sûr que moi-même, je vais devoir couper, tu sais. Fait que ça veut dire, bien sûr, que dans la même instance où que je dois couper quelque chose, ça veut dire que dans le public, on va devoir couper quelque chose. C'est le même principe financier qui s'applique. C'est le même principe financièrement qui s'applique. Fait oh. C'est le même principe qui s'applique. Fait que la TRD, c'est la solution, je vous l'explique. On va prendre, puis la TRD, dans ma TRD, c'était inclus la théorie d'intégration monétaire. La théorie d'intégration monétaire est inclue dans ma théorie. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000. Moi, j'ai 10 000 pas de carte de crédit, mais de dette. Une ligne de crédit qu'on appelle à la Banque Royale. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette. Toute la dette publique-privée. Toute la dette publique-privée, bien sûr. Mon 10 000, ton 10 000. Moi, j'ai 10 000. Fait que de côte à côte, toute la dette publique-privée. Mon 10 000, ton 10 000. Toute la dette publique-privée. Avec la tienne, la mienne, la nôtre, la vôtre. Toute la dette publique-privée. Mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. Toute la dette. Côte à côte, on va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. On va faire l'addition avec la dette des États-Unis parce qu'il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de côte à côte, océan à océan. De côte à côte, d'océan à océan. de côte à côte, d'océan à océan. Fait que de côte à côte, d'océan à océan. Avec la dette des États-Unis, tout ça, on va mettre ensemble. Ma dette, ta dette, sa dette, votre dette. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va la mettre ensemble. On va mettre toute cette dette-là ensemble. Et toute cette dette-là, on va faire la conversion de la dette publique-privée du Canada dans la devise des États-Unis. Avec cet argent-là, on va faire l'addition avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis. On va faire la fondation d'une nouvelle banque, l'Amérique du Nord, parce que dans ma TRD, ça inclut la théorie d'intégration monétaire, encore une fois. Puis on va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie, oui. U.unité, A.échange ou point universel. U.unité, A.échange ou point universel. Oui. U.unité, A.échange ou point universel. L'unité d'échange universelle aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis, aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Et bien sûr, dans cette instance, on va faire, bien sûr, cette UI, unité d'échange universelle. Et bien sûr, on va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. 10%, on va pas pouvoir avoir plus d'intérêt que 10. Par principe, ça va être 10%. Après ça, sur tous les prêts bancaires, pour tous les prêts, pour les cartes de crédit, tout ça, ça va être 10%. Canada et États-Unis ensemble, on va faire, avec cet argent-là, faire l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la réfusion de la dette, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. On va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique. Bâtir, construire 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une bombe thermonucléaire. On va bien sûr, construire plus de centrales de l'Hydro-Québec, bâtir sur la frontière du Canada et des États-Unis ensemble le plus grand colisée, aréna du sport dans le monde. Ça va être 11 fois plus que le Caesars Superdome en Louisiane. Le nom du passé, c'était Mercedes-Benz, c'est le stadium Mercedes-Benz. Ou quand même de mes préférés Super Bowl, les 49ers de San Francisco, ils ont perdu au Baltimore. Les Ravens de Baltimore, ils ont perdu par 3 points, mais c'était un Super Bowl que j'ai bien aimé. Mais vous savez, moi, c'est la danse. J'adore les autres sports, le hockey, le football, la boxe, mais en première place, c'est la danse. La danse est mon sport préféré, fait que la TRD, théorie de la réfusion de la dette, c'est ça qu'on va devoir faire l'implémentation parce qu'on est à veille d'avoir un effondrement des finances. C'est possible que ça a commencé après 3 heures. Je suis sorti de chez nous à 3h16 p.m. C'est possible que ça a commencé à 3h58 p.m. 44 minutes après, là, en 4 heures que ça soit. C'est possible. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la réfusion de la dette, c'est la seule solution, quelque chose qui ressemble ma TRD fondamentalement en principe, parce que notre économie canadienne n'a pas doublé, mais en seulement 3 ans, l'intérêt à cause de la COVID, puis les programmes qu'on a dû implémenter à cause de la coronavirus, ça a fait que notre intérêt, là, qu'on paye sur la dette publique, ça a doublé, puis M. Carney, mon oncle Carney, le roi est absent, c'est le temps pour la République. Je demande, parce qu'elle travaille dans les finances puis les banques, elle doit savoir ces chiffres-là. Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper, là? Qu'est-ce qu'on va couper? On va devoir couper quoi? La GRC, la police, les prisons, les services de sanitation. Ça prend le public et le privé ensemble. Pour ça, mon rêve, et c'est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé. Je pense que je vois le camion de l'Hydro-Québec. Go Hydro-Québec, go! Puis avec la TRD, on va pouvoir bâtir d'autres centrales de l'Hydro-Québec. On va pouvoir rebâtir l'infrastructure du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Puis on va fonder 2 institutions, Canada et États-Unis ensemble, parce qu'on n'a pas besoin de la frontière. On va devoir faire un grand recensement, puis voir les gens, les citoyens qui habitent ici depuis, mettons, 2020, la COVID, ou 2017, 5 ans ou 7 ans et plus. Puis on va donner une certaine amnistie pour qu'il y ait de la construction des 44 tunnels, puis d'autres choses, puis on va bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, on va bâtir plus d'infrastructures du collectif, puis on va établir pour la sécurité service défense, pour les 63, car il y a 10 provinces, 50 États, puis 3 territoires, donc 10 plus 50, ça fait 60, plus 3, ça fait 63. Les 63 légions de l'armée du dragon qui fonctionnera seulement et seulement pour la SSD par le principe de la sécurité service défense, SSD de côte à côte d'océan à océan. Je veux juste des amis avec bénéfice. Depuis maintenant à demain, pour l'intelligence légion. Puis de côte à côte, c'est ça qu'on doit faire. Ici sur l'île de Montréal, la métropole, pour les 17 régions, ben, vous embrasse avec du rock'n'roll, de la poésie, puis bien sûr, c'est des choses comme ça qu'on doit faire, et c'est des choses qu'on doit nous-mêmes faire. C'est urgent, là. On est en train d'avoir un effondrement financier, c'est la solution, c'est ça, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. C'est pas quelque chose que c'est négociable ou quelque chose qui ressemble à TRD. C'est possible que demain, mercredi, le 14 mai, là, deuxième jour de la pleine lune, il y a un effondrement des finances publiques. Par principe mathématique, financier, on ne peut pas soutenir la situation dont on est rendu au point, à cause de la COVID, à payer plus que double intérêt qu'on a payé il y a 5 ans. C'est le temps, là. Imagine, comme citoyen ici, si l'intérêt double là, que vous payez sans que le salaire double, la moyenne salariale, là, ça a augmenté 4,4% seulement en 5 ans, depuis février 2020 à février 2025. Il y a certains qui sont augmentés de 5, 10, 15%, là, mais pas beaucoup. On n'en connaît pas beaucoup de salaire. Mais bon, c'est la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Soutenez mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse. Prêtez allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille. C'est ça la chanson 24/24. Puis maintenant, on va chanter les cadences en anglais. Cadence, let's go. Cadence, cadence, cadence. Let's go for the Dragonomy cadence. You know what time it is? Cadence, property of the Dragonomy. Heatwave special 9th, 10th, or 11th. Since we started launching the cadence a few weeks ago, property of the Dragonomy created freestyle mode. Rainbow Dragon General Cuckold, Rainbow Dragon aka Clidic, greatest cuckold in the universe, greatest cuckold in the universe, greatest cuckold in the universe. General Rainbow Dragon. Let's go with the rock and roll, so that you know. General Rainbow Dragon on the go. Kind of see some red. I see that rock and roll. Let's go. Get ready. Property of the Dragon Army or allies. You can sing this cadence if you're an ally, an army. Otherwise, don't try to sing this cadence. Otherwise, you've been warned. It might be turning into glass and dust in your mouth. It might be turning into glass and dust in your mouth. Turning to glass and dust in your mouth. Dragonomy cadence, property of the Dragonomy. For the butchers, for the bakers, for the truckers and the nurses. March and rock and roll, you know we see. On the left and on the right. Carry for the truckers and the plumbers. And the butchers and the nurses, firefighters. We just speak that French and English. Who speak Spanish, we don't mind it. Gotta love it for the collective, north and south and east and west. Dragon Army marching best. Got a flower for the tower. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Got a left, a right, and see. On the toes and that you be. On the toes and that you be. Flowers at the tower see. For the valleys and the rivers and the mountains. Gotta march and sing a rock and roll. For the plumbers and the welders. For the plumbers and the welders. For the plumbers and the welders. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, toes and up and down we quotient. SSD for the Dragon Army. SSD for the Dragon Army. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Got a left or right, you see. For the you, the me, you be. Dragon Army, the Collective. That you be and that you see. Truckers on the road. For the truckers on the road. Train conductors, electricians. Train conductors, electricians. Train conductors, electricians. Got a riddle for the guessing. Got some riddles for those guessing. Dragon armies, who we be. Nobody's born a dragon. Nobody's born a dragon. Nobody's born a dragon. That you see and that you be. Dragon army. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. 40 SSD's the potion. SSD stands for So Security, Service and Defense. SSD stands for Security, Service and Defense. SSD stands for Security, Service and Defense. For the 63, marching for the 63. Marching for the 63. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. The free, the strong, the loving on. The free, the strong, the loving on. Whether it's football or some hockey. Dancing, I just got a jockey. I don't need no guitar. Gotta swing with some scars. Hey, don't need no guitar. Gotta swing with my scars. Going east and going west. For the liberty, you know that's best. SSD, Security, Service and Defense, clap. Whether it's rock or is a rap. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are on steel toes. Some of my dragons are sandal toes. Some of my dragons are barefoot in the sand. Gotta hear it for the chants. From the mountains and the rivers. From the mountain and the rivers. Gotta chant, hear us some river. For the river and the wind, give him some rhythm, dragon army sing. For the river and the wind, give us some dragon army sing. From the river and the wind, give me some dragon army sing. From the river and the wind, give me some dragon army sing. Left or right and in the center. Left or right and in the center. Left or right and in the center. I gotta give a blessing lessons. From the pyramids to North America. Building your pyramids, the dragon army. Building your pyramids, the dragon army. Building the pyramids, the dragon army. Building the pyramids, the dragon army. Toes on the cadence. Toes on the cadence. I gotta be watching this. Got some allergies to certain dogs and gotta watch it just because I got some allergies, you know. If they're not poodles, gotta admire them from afar, you know. If they're not poodles, gotta admire them from afar, you know. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. 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 Plumbers, electricians, and the train conductors. Plumbers, electricians, and the train conductors. Plumbers, electricians, and the train conductors. Gotta get it on the go. Jack and see so that you know. On the toes and on the floors. For the nurses and the doctors. Gotta be those firefighters. Gotta be those firefighters. Gotta be those firefighters. Firefighters LOV to the firefighters of the North American Collective. Let's get him a cadence, Dragon Army. Firefighters. We salute the firefighters. We salute the bakers and the butchers. Dragon Army, we salute the bakers, the butchers, the truckers, the nurses. Dragon Army, we salute the truckers, the welders, the plumbers. Dragon Army, we salute the cooks in the fast food flipping some burgers. Dragon Army, we salute the workers in the fast food flipping some burgers. Dragon Army, we salute the workers in the fast food flipping some cheeseburgers. Dragon Army, we salute workers on the farmers. Canada, United States, we don't need no border. United Fuse, Dragon Kingdom. With that DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, sister, brother, brother, sister. Twin siblings, Rock&Roll, family pledge your allegiance. Dragon Army, dog family pledge your allegiance. Legions, that's the cadence. 24/7. And that's the sentence. Gotta get it for you know. Gotta get it for you be. For you see in harmony. So you know we gotta leave. Let's go Dragon Army. For the lovers, for the butchers, for the truckers, for the plumbers and the electricians. That's we gotta get it for the firefighters. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Hey, we gotta do something for the lovers, hey? For the lovers, also for the lovers. We gotta get some cadence for the lovers. We just gotta. It's not completed without some loving. For the lovers, we gotta march. Somebody making love in the free world, otherwise we stop the march. Somebody making LOVE in the free world, in the kingdom. Otherwise Dragon stops the march. Even though Rainbow Dragon's still spitting fire. Dragons can be kind and gentle. For the service, at your service, Dragon Army. Dragon Army at your service. Lips for those in the yards, in the ports, Canada, United States, coast to coast, east coast on the Atlantic, west coast on the Pacific, in the ports, in the dock workers, we gotta salute. Dock workers, we gotta salute. Let's get it for the North American Collective Workers Party Dragon, Global Dragon Union. N.A.C.W.P. 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 North American Collective Workers Party. N.A.C.W.P. N.A.C.W.P. Let's go for the N.A.C.P. W.P. N.A.C.W.P. N.A.C.W.P. North American Collective Workers Party. N.A.C.W.P. That's why we marching, so you be. Truckers on the road, we salute and rock and roll. Truckers on the road, we salute and rock and roll. Truckers on the road, we salute and rock and roll. For the go and for the be. For the go and for the show. For the be and for the see. For the love and for the butchers. For the truckers, electricians, and those plumbers. Nurses and the daycare workers. We gotta salute the daycare workers changing diapers. We gotta salute the daycare workers changing diapers. We gotta salute the daycare workers changing diapers. Train conductors in the trains, watching they switching lanes. Train conductors in the trains, watch it when they changing lanes. Train conductors in the trains, watch it when they changing lanes. Gotta salute the train conductors, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Let's get the North American Collective Workers Party. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Now my brain switches. I make a security service and meditation as I gotta know all that's coming in and out of Canada, United States, from the ports and the airports 24/7 for total security, total service. Dragon Army for the new 911 protocols of the rehabilitation of the North American Collective. And I know that train's going west towards Ottawa, towards Toronto, towards, of course, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, all the way maybe to BC. Don't know, maybe a third of it, 2/3 of it, a quarter of it, a fifth of it, which is 20%, percentiles or quarters or fractions. Got to do some of that math sometimes, mathematics. With the art, got to go together. North American Civilisation Collective, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. The Dragon Army cadence, 24/7 geopolitics, sports, fitness, rock and roll for the plumbers, electricians, butchers, bakers, nurses, daycare workers, train conductors, dock workers. Those, of course, ambulance workers, warehouse workers, and those in the fast food flipping some burgers, cheeseburgers, making some fries and buns or whatever the world that they're doing, you know, in that fast food joints. I gotta be sending some LOV to them as I go around about it, and we're gonna finish it, I guess. How we're gonna get started? Go turn right here on the back and go by La Falaise back there, which we're gonna meet to get that DGA to get some cleaning. And Dragon Army cadence continues. Pledge your allegiance. Got those beautiful yellow flowers. I'm gonna just make a little bit of this just for, I thought it was cheering me on, Dragon Army maybe. Got a honk HONK for the Dragon Army. I love these beautiful yellow flowers. And here we go. I'm gonna turn back around here and go back by the other side and get it on that drill. Firefighters, butchers, plumbers, electricians, and drive safely on the road. I think it's 25 degrees. Plus 25 degrees. I declare it a heat wave for May. May is not supposed to be more than, like, it's supposed to be around 15 because it's May it's spring, right? And there's still 6 more weeks of spring. 6 more weeks from 6 more weeks until summer officially, right? So that's why I gotta say, of course, that it's a heat wave, because it's more than 20 degrees. So of course something like 15 should be around the temperature. 15 should be around average, I guess. Not more, you know. So it's way, way, way above average today. Heat wave, 3-day heat wave, I guess. Today, tomorrow, and the full moon ends. So I guess we just gotta do that cadence one more again, and that's all we gotta get doing, you know. Let's go. Get ready for the cadence. Cadence. Oh, the dragon army for the coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We gotta get it rock and roll. Truckers, firefighters on the road. Lovers, 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 where do you be? Somewhere across the 63. Lovers, 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 where you be? Somewhere making love across the 63. Wow, this is a biggie. It's a huge one. So now I'm just gonna interject some meditations, you know, in terms that my brain switches, and you know, it's geopolitics 24/7 with this aspect. You see how vital our highways and our trains, the electricity, all civilization being a privilege, as was of course my thesis back in 2023, the privilege of civilization. And of course civilization is a privilege. Civilization is a privilege, having running water, electricity. That was my thesis back in 2023, which I presented and I've written, and even the crow says go, 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 dragon, love you crows. Hawk, hawk, hawk. H-A-W-K is my totem bird, but I love snakes also. Ball, so I love you crows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crows. I love you crows. Priestess of the goddess, the rainbow dragon, gonna sing it. Sing it for the black and white, for the homos, for the lesbians, for the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses, train conductors. So now I'm gonna do a geopolitical meditation. See, I don't know exactly what's inside there. Maybe cattle, because it has breeding space. I'm trying to take a peek. It kind of seems like there's, I gotta check my eyes again. I'm checking opinion optometrist, because I've been told that I need some glasses, but financially, no. Although the government is going to cover like 44% of the cost, but I'm still struggling with that finance, money-wise. I'm still stressed, but joyous. And now my mind focuses on geopolitics, how this specific train, whether it's filled with some goods or filled with some goods which can, of course, be helpful, can be helpful. Somebody put $20,000 there and makes me think that I'm $10,000 in debt. So I'm willing to do some work for $20,000, and of course for $20,000, and do a show, rock and roll freestyle show, or workout, or train, and you know, that's all we're gonna get it on that, and that's all we're gonna get doing on the XYZ, and that's all we're gonna get doing on the love. You know, sometimes we just gotta get doing on the love side of things, and we just gotta give it some of that loving, you know. So train conductor, you know, I'm assuming, you know, honest worker, and maybe he's stressed, he, she, whatever. Maybe part of the LGBTQ community, neurodivergent, those things I don't know, but always a worker, workers who drive the trains, you know. Maybe the person driving the train, the worker, is stressed, also can't afford a massage therapy session because it's too expensive. So the Dragon Army would gonna get that SSD, security, service and defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And you know, you have this train here, and I'm also meditating now. Of course, it looks like those are carts for cattle. So you know, this is open for sabotage and espionage all around trains and the highway. So now my mind meditates from an SSD perspective, from a security, service and defense, how this train and the highways and all the trains and the highways and the trucks carrying all the goods across the North American Collective, with all the goods, all the supply chains, you know, how they're of course now globalized, but with a tariff war, and it seems to be a resolution between US and China by bringing the tariffs down to 115, but there's of course the potential Taiwan question on the horizon. And China might invade Taiwan any minute, and the Pakistan-India, supposedly there was a breach of the ceasefire, and is there going to be a ceasefire in Ukraine? Is there going to be a ceasefire in Ukraine? Is there going to be a ceasefire in Israel, Hamas, Palestine? Is there? Is there not? What I do know is that I predicted the global geopolitical situation that's been unfolding in the past 3.5 years. Back in 2019, in October, November, I predicted that in the coming 7 years, there's going to be an international conflagration of World War III. And so I was kind of course, in a World War III type of mode because of that. So kind of been in a World War III type of mode, and that's all we got to get doing with that, and that's all we got to get doing on the go, you know. So it's something which we got to be on the loving side of things, and that's all we got to get doing on the love side, and we got to meditate on that loving, and we got to get meditating on how we are here interjecting, and got to continue singing on those cadences a little bit, and that's all we got to be doing, you know. We got to be singing and meditating and caring for the butchers, the bakers, and the nurses, and the truckers, and the electricians, and the plumbers, and all those involved in the production and the distribution of food, and all those now, because I'm free, financially stressed, but I'm free, open for business, open for loving. You gotta be 18 plus, black, white, man, woman, you know. Friends with benefits only from now on. Bury me with Papa Crowley, or turn me up in New Jersey, you know. Or turn me up in New Jersey, or turn me up in the city of the pyramids, and or turn me up in Mount Royal. And I gotta say, you know, those graffiti there with the multicolor, I gotta say that it's kind of nice, kind of has a nice feel to it, but whatever that's written there, it's something which I gotta be meditating on, and something which I gotta be doing on the go, you know. So it's something which we gotta be open-minded about and transmissive about, and be mindful here that we are a North American collective, and we're open for potential sabotage and espionage. So gonna get back with those cadences now again. Cadence, property of the Dragon Army. Gonna get that cadence, and gotta look at the beautiful sky, you know, and meditate a little bit about the satellites, because in the parallel life, I'm also an N.A.C.W.P, but there's science, mathematics, physics, and supercomputers. I'm also an N.A.C.W.P, but there it's science, supercomputers, and science, supercomputers, and building satellites in the sky, and everything to do with microchips, coding, and supercomputers, and cybernetics, and things of that nature. That's what I do in that parallel life, and that's what yours truly does in the parallel life, to do it with that. And that's all we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So anyways, that's what I'm here with, and here we're gonna get that Dragon Army for the collective, and we're gonna sing again. Sing the cadence. Fiery, cold Scorpio with Al. Fiery, cold Scorpio with Al. Let's go, rock and roll. For the butchers and the truckers and the nurses and the plumbers. Electricians, firefighters. So you know where we be. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That you know and that you see. Plumbers, electricians, truckers on the left and north and east and west. For the 63 we clap. For the 63 we coming down. Gotta give it for the news. Gotta give it for the bruised. Gotta give it for the bruised. Gotta give it for the bruised. Gotta give a song for the free and loving. Whether on steel toes or sandals. Dragging on me, light some candles. Let's go rock. Let's go rock. Let's go rock. Oh, let's go rock, we rock. Dragging army on the block. March and rock, we drag an army on the block. Let's go rock. Let's go rock. Drag an army on the rock. Drag an army on the rock. Oh wow, that's a nice one. Little birdie, you know. Little birdies. Let's go rock. Drag an army on the block. Drag an army on the block. Let's go rock. Drag an army on the block. Let's go rock. We the Dragon Army on the block. East and west and north and south. We can go another round. East and west and north and south. We can go another round. East and west and north and south. We can go another round. Let's go up and down with the blue sky. All the seasons, all terrain. Dragons are born through pain. All the seasons, all terrain. Dragons are born through pain. All the seasons, all terrain. Dragons are born through pain. All the season, all terrains. Dragons are born through pain. All the seasons, all terrains. Dragons are born through pain. We don't need to keep the fame. We need some loving, I'm good. Need some loving, that's some good. Put some feast, put some feet. Put some feet, put some feast. Release. We say a new order, we some beasts. Rainbow beasts and black and white. Homos, lesbians, we welcome arms open. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Rainbow dragon, if I ask who I am, you answer. You're the general rainbow dragon. All order must be obeyed, Dragon Army. You gotta do the general integrated whole body training system to be eligible. Simple, effective, efficient, no equipment necessary. You got 93 minutes to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks, 100 of each. 13 reps maximum per set, 3 minimum. Once the countdown starts, you got 93 minutes, 44 seconds, and 9/11s. 9/11s basically is almost 45 minutes. Correction, 45 seconds. So it's 93 minutes and almost 45 seconds. 93 minutes and 44 seconds and 9/11s, which is a fraction of a second. 9/11s of a second. So 44 seconds and 9/11, almost 45 seconds to do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. You cannot stop, pause once you start the countdown. 13 reps maximum per set, 3 minimum. So you can do 6, 7, whatever until you get to 100 for the push-ups, 100 hawks, 100 squats. That trinity of exercise in the cardio 4th dimension, you gotta run or jog or run or march or jog or whatever pace, but you got to keep it in motion. You cannot stop. That's the workout which I created back in 2019. Those are the rules. I myself performed more than 372, performed about a little bit more than 372 sessions myself. At 300 I officially turned that A into an O, and since 2017 when I started my fitness journey, lost between 80 and 93 pounds. And I always say my fitness journey starts today. My fitness journey starts today. My fitness journey starts today. So that's what I do. That's what I hay, and that's what I do it with the bay. And here we got a little bit of red and green, and that's how we got to do it with some red, with some green, and we gotta get on that org, and I live a simple, efficient, although severe lifestyle, you know. Severe, simple, efficient lifestyle, I guess. Severe, austere, simple lifestyle, and my workout requires no equipment. And we're gonna continue the Dragonomic cadence. We're gonna continue the Dragonomic cadence. So we're gonna continue with the singing. Let's go. Nobody is born a dragon. Not even. So if I ask who I am, you answer, Rainbow Dragon, founder of the Dragon Army, aka North American Imperial People's SSD, Security Service and Defense League. Nobody is born a dragon, not even myself. And if I ask who I am, you answer, aka Rainbow Dragon, aka greatest cuckold in the universe, aka Clit Dick Dicklet. Sometimes goes that rocket goddess, kiss magic. Healing every day. Plenty of scars even on my little clit dick, 50-50. Man, woman, man. Rainbow Dragon, drop down, give me some push-ups. Leaders of the free world with it. $10,000 in debt. That's about how much I owe. Rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and $10,000 in debt to the RBC, but got food, got coffee, and carpe diem it for today. Make love, you know, before the nukes pop off. Make love before the nukes pop off, and that's how we gotta get going with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing, you know, on the go here. See, oh, you got a little bit of that, doing there, you know. So that's how it is, you know. So playing for that defense, you know, defense, only defense, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, playing for that defense. I am hyper vigilant because I was attacked by surprise and have my scars and trauma. So, but I don't like violence. I do not like violence. I don't like violence. Aggression needs to be channeled. You know, sports. That's why we need to build a North American People's Imperial Coliseum to be the greatest sports facility arena I ever built. Where the first inauguration event is gonna be Dragon versus Trump. Me and Donald Trump fighting on the Canadian-US border, fighting on the Canadian-US border, fighting on the Canadian-US border to be the inauguration event for the complex Coliseum, multi-sports, where universities, high schools, and all football, hockey leagues, and the sports leagues and organizations are going to have sportis in perpetuities, 24/7 sports events on that US-Canadian border, and to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, where the Superdome was built, and Caesar Superdome, and also the Caesar Superdome, and of course where the Mercedes-Benz Super Bowl was built. Super Bowl was built where the Super Bowl was built. Where the Super Bowl was built. Super Bowl were my 49ers, you know. 49ers lost. 49ers lost to the Baltimore Ravens by 3 points, you know. By 3 points. By 3 points. They lost to the Ravens by 3 points. One of my favorite Super Bowls. And yeah, we gotta love it. Love, you know. That's what we gotta love by action. Aspies, we show love, compassion, empathy by action rather than, you know, slogans and verbal consolation we offer. That's, again, sometimes people mistake that Aspies, we have Asperger's, that we're not compassionate or empathetic. It's just that we show it by actions more than just blah 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 consolatory verbal consolation. I guess, you know. And yeah, Dragon Army, founded by androgynous Aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical theoretical analyst, and theorist, mystic, and Clit Dick Dicklet sometimes gets that rocket. Hail Mary rocket. More than 44 yards thrown. More than 44 yards thrown for a TD, touchdown. More than 44 yards thrown for a touchdown. Get that rocket. God is blessed, son. My Publik King, the son. My Publik in the sun, marching in the night or in the day, dragging on me every day. We 24/7 like that. We 24/7 like the police, I guess. We 24/7 like the police service, I guess. 24/7 like the police. And we're individuals, nobody's perfect. Not my brothers and sisters in blue. Not my brothers and sisters, citizens and civilians and allies of the Dragon Army or Dragon Army potentials. Pledge your allegiance, legions, and we gotta get it on the go, so, you know, and congratulations, love, and rock and roll to my brothers and sisters who take their second chances, you know, and take their second chances and do their criminal rehabilitation, you know, who do their criminal rehabilitation. That's why I've written in 2017 the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, you know, for the establishment and to build those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. We need to get Canada and United States, the incarcerated population, for the new 911 Dragon Army, Dancing Goddess Army, DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, the North American Integrated Dance League, for the 63 legions to get it on the go now. And that's all we gotta get doing. And here we got some curious herbs. See how it is on the herbs. See here on the herbs on the side, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, you know. So something which I gotta meditate, how they grew from concrete. See how they bursted the concrete, and how they bursted, of course, the concrete on the side, you know. So it's something which we gotta be mindful about. See right here, so that it's perhaps an N.A.C.P thing, and an N.A.C.P thing on the go, you know. So I'm gonna get the sit philosophy. And so we gotta get that North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, and we gotta do it on the go, and that's how we gotta get on the love here, you know, for the two lords, I guess, the fusion of the two lords. And Horus and Set are one. Behold the mysteries. Horus and Set are one. Behold the mysteries. Horus and Set are one. And that's all we gotta get, and that's all we gotta do. And for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the doctors. For the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, warehouse workers, and the grocery store clerks. Warehouse workers and the grocery store clerks. Warehouse workers and the grocery store clerks. I love that red. My king is the sun. My king is the sun. My king is the son of millionaires. And ain't nobody born a dragon. Gotta get it for the left or right, and get it for the east and for the west, and get it for the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, and get it for the go with that, and get it for the left or right, and get it for the butchers, the bakers, the truckers, the nurses. Let's get the foundation for a PPP, public-private partnership. Is all I call for, basically. Fundamentally, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom is a call for a public-private partnership. We got to get rid of the border, make a census, and create the UE, universally exchange it, the U.universal E.exchange, U.unit, universally exchange it via the DRT, and mass finance the building of the 44 tunnels, and mass finance citizens fitness, mass finance tourism, the rehabilitation of the North American Collectif civilizational complex, and mass finance the rebuilding of the aqueducts, the sewers, basically the public works, major public works of the 21st century, super necessary. And I got 15 seconds, so I'm gonna drill it down. I got 10 seconds, 11. I'm watching here. Here we got some more seconds to go. I guess I can pass. Yep, passed, I guess. Just want to see here. or if you see if you smell an odor. So I gotta advise, if you see an odor here, that's what that says in English. There's a duct underneath. So see, now my brain focus in geopolitics, you know. So being that there's a duct here underneath, we gotta get it for if we smell something fishy like gas, we gotta call 911. See, gotta call 911 for that, you know. That's what we gotta get doing with that. So I gotta get here, turn the head left and right, because you never know. The cars sometimes come and turn the corner, and that's what we gotta be doing for the cars, you know. So we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get on that rock and roll side, you know. Anyways, we gotta get doing with the love, man. I wish I could paint. Bring me the tools, the permission, and I'll paint this, you know. And I'll paint all this, you know. And I'll paint all this. Gotta paint it on the go, and paint it some red, paint it some green, paint it some blue, you know. Multicolored rainbow. It's so great. And a lot of people pass here. I think it will bring some joy, and revitalization of the neighborhood, you know. Revitalization of the neighborhood, just painting it a bit on the drill side. Something like multicolor would be best. Multicolor would be best. Something red, purple, orange. Something good, you know. A fellow citizen going on that jog. Good for you, man. Keep it up. Get some mileage, get some sweat. Always a fan of working out, always a fan of fitness, and always working out, training myself, as a matter of fact, you know. Something that I often do, and now I gotta speed it back because I got some brain business, so I gotta go consequently with that, and gotta get back to my headquarters. Today was a short. Yesterday was a long one. Yesterday was 7 hours and 18 minutes. So I think that was my longest yet for 2025. Yesterday was my longest march for 2025. Yesterday was I gotta mark it. Yesterday was my longest march for 2025, you know. My longest march for 2025 was yesterday, so I always admire big buildings like this and the workers, you know, construction workers. I'm a big fan. Let's go sing some of that cadence, Dragonami. Cadence for the construction workers going up and down the cranes. Cadence for the construction workers going up and down the cranes. Cadence for the construction workers going up and down the cranes. Cadence for the construction workers going up and down the cranes. Cadence for the construction workers going up and down the cranes. For the east and for the right. Yeah. That's all I gotta do. Construction workers, rock and roll. Let's build the 444 North American People's Imperial Coliseum, where the inauguration event is going to be Dragon versus Storm, the dancing goddess, the forgotten goddess JDSS temple, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the Rainbow People's Palace for the neurodivergence and the fellow LGBTQ community, which I'm part of both of the LGBTQ and neurodivergent community, and the pyramid. That's scarlet, crimson. Scarlet and crimsons are basically shades of red, my favorite color. The pyramid house of the dragon, and to be where I will be able to have open house, you know. Open house, and that's something which I gotta be on that rock and roll with that, and that's something which I gotta be encouraging the youth, playing some of that sports, fitness, something which is good for the body, and channeling the aggression. And with the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, which is gonna be 11 times bigger than the Caesars Superdome, or now it's called the Caesar Superdome, but it used to be known as before it was known as the Mercedes-Benz, and it had another name before. So during the past 44 years, it changed the name 3 times, just like yours truly changed the name, and Dragon became Dragon, Dragon became Dragon, and that's how we gotta get doing now, for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, and we gotta keep a mind open for the 3G, 4G, and 5G, that antennas there, because we got potential opening for sabotage and espionage, and we're open for potential sabotage and espionage. So in a parallel life, I build satellites, cyborgs, and coding and AI, like this one here. See, like that one. But in this life is geopolitics, sports and fitness, and rock and roll, and that's what I gotta be building with that. But I don't know what. Maybe something that is specific to that. Maybe something that is specific with that, and that's why I gotta be meditating on how it was built there. Something that was built there. Because it's open for sabotage and espionage. Espionage. We have seen proof, both Canada and the United States, of massive espionage, massive espionage, massive espionage, massive espionage. We have seen proof of massive espionage, and that's what it is with the. Here, I don't know if you have something that's good there or not, but makes me. I just remember moving, from a moldy place. Used to live in Côte d'Ivoire, moldy place, and it was sick, ill, and disease, and I moved from that moldy place. It was on the ground, and of course it was on the ground, and there was lots of whitish mold, black mold, and reddish type of greenish mold, very moldy. And I just remember moving from Côte d'Ivoire, I was on the ground. I was sick, diseased, suicidal, depressed, and 2017 I crossed Canada coast to coast. That event changed my whole life, and look at these beauties. Oh, that's just gorgeous. Wow. Really brings me so much joy. The beautiful flowers. The white ones also are nice. Although this one's also, wow. It's really nice. And that one kind of pinkish there in the background. See, it's so nice. So I'm back, I guess I'm still healing. I guess some scars, external scars, internal scars will perhaps remain, and external and on the body, face, body, and privates. I get itchy sometimes, it's just, whatever the case may be. I still have a lot of medical consultations for cream and ointments, so that is what I gotta be doing with that. But because financially, I can't afford the dermatologist, so I can't afford dermatologist, and being that I can't afford dermatologist, it costs more, or most of the responses were $300. So no, I can't afford it right now to see, my skin. Whatever the case. Probably psoriasis, or, the psoriasis. Or eczema on the privates, which makes me itchy, and whatever the case may be. I see what it is with that. So, back to cadence, back to rock and roll, back to my rah, R.A. retrograde amnesia, because I have good memory, very good memory of the past years, but then going back furthermore, it's like a blackout, like a blackout, That's it. Gotta get on that blackouts. It's retrograde amnesia, so memory loss for that, and that's what it is with the memory loss, and that's all we gotta get doing on that. And maybe sometimes it's lost because of prolonged illness or trauma, but sometimes it comes back, you know. Sometimes memory just flashes back after a traumatic event. You can lose it, and that's all we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get doing on that rock and roll, you know. So after a traumatic event, you lose it, and then by a traumatic event like a head concussion, you gain it back. So that is the paradox of memory loss, you know. That's all we gotta get doing on the memory loss with that. But perhaps, I guess, it's not that important, but sometimes I know my life from journals written about events, major events in my life, and more importantly is my work, which I've done, of course, in the geopolitical past, and that's what it is with that, and we can do it on the go, you know. So that's what we're gonna do for that, and so we're gonna get doing, you know. Can't wait to pass on the other side here. Gotta get it here left. Gonna be patient, I guess. Gonna have patience. Gonna have some patience, because you know the cars at the end of the day are just metals on wheels, and we gotta get doing on that, and I gotta get on the go and watch it before I trespass, that is, and gotta watch for my fellow citizen there. Watch the car. Be careful when you cross the street. My fellow citizen also, I gotta watch my fellow citizens like a hawk, you know. My fellow citizen there, auntie, cousins, estranged or not estranged here in the North American Collective, and gotta turn my own head, you know, left and right when I cross the street, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So for that XYZ, and we gotta get it for the fridge, see if we got some food, and if we got some food, I'll certainly be grateful. I wish I could fill the whole fridge, actually. Well, take what you want, leave what you don't. Take what you want, leave what you don't, but that's kind of empty, so it's gonna get something here. We get it there, and that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna leave that there for somebody else. They can take it, you know, so they can take it with that. But no, you got something. You got, I think it's corn there. I left you corn. I left you 2 kinds of corn. Enjoy. So that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, you know. I didn't take the corn. I left it for my fellow citizen there, and I have nothing. I would have liked to offer something, because I like to offer if she's in need, he, she there, whatever. My auntie there could offer something, but I'm financially stressed myself, so I can only offer my labor, you know. My labor, my love, rock and roll, and friends with benefits, and just ask, you know. Just ask. And for my fellow auntie there is 2 cans, 1 can. They were there before at the beginning of the video. 2 cans. 1 can, 2 cans of the same products. So it's actually corn. So I hope she's gonna take it, and you can cook with that. You can eat it like that. Actually, I do eat it like that sometimes, or just with crackers. Very simple, austere meal with crackers. I eat it with crackers, you know. I eat it with crackers. Hey, that's nice. What? Look at that. I like that multicolor, quite cute. It's really cute. The yellow, the red, and the kind of bluish. It's really cool. The combination of colors which kind of matches, and the flowers being that they're the same size, you know, kind of rotational and that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And she's there getting some good stuff, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and gotta get rock and rolling with that for the go, you know, and that's how they gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta do there with the rock and roll, and we gotta be on the love slavers, you know. Gotta get it for love, you know. I gotta check those tulips. Oh yeah, these are pretty nice, you know. These are pretty nice, you know. Just gonna check it on the tulips. we're gonna get it on the go. It's so beautiful there on the go, and that's what we gotta get doing on the looking at the tulips, man. Nice. I gotta say nice. It's really nice. It's a color which is kind of a little bit on the dark, and you know, kind of a little bit on the dark side, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And we gotta get doing on the go, and we gotta be meditating, you know, for the XYZ, and we gotta get it on the do, for the doers, for the bakers, you know, for the plumbers, for the electricians, you know, for the firefighters and all those butchers and my cousins, auntie there, and all those who are involved in the production, distribution of food. We gotta get it for them, a little bit of loving, you know, for the side there, and they get it on the go, and also for those I gotta get out of the way of the children first, you know. Cause I have a backpack, big backpack, so I want the child to do his thing, freedom, life, and liberty. And cause me, see, so with that big backpack, you know, it's like so big, you know, big backpack. So gotta give him a little bit prioritas, you know. And that's how we gotta get doing with that, and gotta get doing on the go, you know. So we gotta get lost. So we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta be on the transmissive side and be careful here when we cross. Gonna let that lady cross and be sure, you know, we cross and essentially with prudence, you know, because here the brakes malfunction, potentially the brakes malfunction, the citizen driver drives too fast or presses the accelerator instead of brake, and they're stressed about the gas price because the gas price average was 93 cents, you know, before was 93 cents. In February 2020, the average price was, of course, 93 cents. So now it has increased, and so people are stressed, you know. So I gotta take into consideration that stress and the fact that the cost of living has increased in the past 5 years, and this is co-equivalently, I'm not a psychiatrist, major in psychology, my thing is geopolitics, but study correlated psychological influence. Might consider my own stress, financial stress, being financially stressed myself. I can only imagine how it adds to the poor conduct and road rage and all that. The financial stress, of course, adds on the go with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on the crossing the street prudently, you know, just left and right, right and left, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get on the loving side of things, you know. That's just what we gotta do, you know. So it's something which I gotta be doing as a mystic, as a philosopher, artist, athlete, and take that into consideration as well as other things, and just rock and roll as I do 24/7, geopolitics, sports, fitness, and live with my scars, my retrograde amnesia, memory loss, and all the things, you know. Now finishing my workout, I feel good. Feels so good. It's just I wish I could afford a massage therapy session, but cannot afford a massage therapy session with that. So being that I cannot afford a massage therapy session, they gotta get going on the drills, and I always gotta be meditating about things that are occurring in the North American civilizational complex, and all the steps that I've taken in the past years, auctioning everything that I'm wearing, you know. Everything that I'm wearing is up for auctions, selling it all. The boots, old boots, $1 billion, these new boots, $1 million, and underwear, red and black, and whatever I'm wearing, auctioning them for $1 million to give half, 50%, you know, to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any. So that is just something which I am $10,000 in debt, but always open for work and business, and you know, I had many opportunities and jobs, but here I am now, financially stressed. Gonna go train some brain a bit. I'm back to geopolitics when I get back home. Geopolitical studies. I'm going to be analyzing Trump's discourse, Putin, and here locally, Carney, uncle. Gonna get that DRT auctioning everything that I'm. This shirt, the shorts. First time that I'm wearing shorts 2025 because it's a heat wave, and the hat, $1 million each. $1 million for the hat, A million for the underwear, a million for the XYZ, and a million for the love, and a million for whatever the case may be, whatever you want to make an offer. North American shipping only, and Canada, tied it up. So I see the Canadian flag, see the Canadian flag more and more, but y'all can tell me nothing, you know. I got Canada tied it up, man. For the North American Collective, founding the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom of the North American Collective, and that's all we gotta get doing with that. And for the North American Collective, we gotta get on that go and pledge your allegiance and laying the foundations with 718 trillions of kisses. 718 trillions of kisses for the North American Collective. That's what I just got a rhyme. The farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food, and the butchers, train conductors, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, grocery store clerks, you know. Gotta send some good love into those and them, and that's how we gotta get drilling, and gotta be mindful of all the things we have. Civilization is a privilege, and that's how we're gonna get doing here, you know. From my neighborhood, beautiful flowers stacked in, and beautiful tall trees. I'm just a piece of dust. Look how tall they are compared to me, 7 times my size. So I guess I gotta humble down to the sun, my Pope, the king of nature, the stars by the trains, got trains kisses, laying the foundations for the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. The cadence 24/7 is friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance, and that's how we gotta get doing with that. And we gotta be meditating on the go with that, and we gotta be sometimes just grateful, you know, for the day, and we gotta be mindful of what we're doing today, you know, as it's every day. We gotta get it on the love, and we gotta get for the butchers and the bakers and the nurses here from my neighborhood, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, you know. So it's always geopolitics, it's always fitness, it's always geopolitics, it's always fitness, and always geopolitics, and always concordium. And my fellow citizens, dear brothers, cousins, aunties, uncles, make me a little bit of smile. And how we gonna end it with these beautiful flowers, you know? Beautiful flowers, that, you know? Wow, this is a way to end it. Beautiful flowers. Beautiful flowers. Rock and roll. Butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters.